Part 23. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 221. Fantasy World, Dr. Chen? At this time, countless people in the world looked at what happened in the picture, and everyone was a little surprised. Dr. Chen? Is this another big shot in the technology world? A big shot in the tech world? Gee, I feel like the world of technology is a bit outrageous. It is true that this technological world is a bit unbelievable, especially when it comes to dimensionality later on, but to be honest, I still feel a bit regretful. It is a pity that I did not see the battle between Wanjie and Hey Emperor. Thinking about it, there should be a Black Emperor appearing later, right? This will break it off halfway. Is it possible that this Black Emperor is Dr. Chen? Impossible, absolutely impossible. By the way, why does a doctorate belong to the world of science and technology? Obviously in ancient times, the title of doctor had long existed. Doctor, an ancient official name, is an official position that masters books and classics and is familiar with historical events. This is the doctor. It can only be said that the word doctor has not changed much from ancient times to the future. Yes, it cannot be said that Dr. Chen is a big boss in the world of science and technology. Maybe he is also a big boss in ancient times. Anyway, he's an IQ-crushing golden finger, but I don't know what kind of person this Dr. Chen is. Gee, maybe, it really might be a magic IQ. I think the big guy above made a good analysis. It may be this magical IQ. At this time, countless people were discussing, and in all the worlds, countless people were also a little surprised. Just as countless people were discussing, it was seen that a new picture appeared in the golden list of the avenue. This time, there was no worldview, there is no foreshadowing for the realm of cultivation, and the picture just appears. But what you see in the picture is a street. People are coming and going around, and the traffic is endless. This picture is very familiar. Before, all the world's countless people in the world have seen it. That is, the world of science and technology. 050 is really the world of science and technology. Countless people were speechless, but they didn't say much. They all looked at the Dao gold list to see this Chen. What kind of existence is the doctor? At this time, you can see that there is a young man in the picture. The young man silently swallowed a small transparent pill. In an instant, everything around him seemed to slow down, and time seemed to be moving. His eyes began to slow down, and all the information entered his mind in a chaotic manner, making him feel extremely noisy and chaotic. As the power of the small pill exploded, his eyes became clear. Urgent in his spinning brain, everything is classified and processed. Everything he thinks, sees, and hears is processed in his brain in an orderly manner. In front of him, about 500 meters away, a blonde and blue-eyed man, the foreign girl, held up her tired eyes and watched the other foreign man in front of her speaking. Their voices were not loud, but when they reached the young man's ears, they could be distinguished clearly. "Baby, don't do this. Richard, I have to go." The two were pulling each other. In fact, the young man already knew what they were going to say. In this state, he could easily browse through the memories in his mind, even if it was a movie he had watched out of boredom. Yes, to him, the scene in front of him was a scene that had appeared in a movie. A science fiction film. The main line of the story was the story of a sexy girl who became a god. Yes, this young man, named Chen Ang, also this is the lucky boy who counts the golden fingers this time. Chen Ang was originally just an ordinary student, struggling for the college entrance examination. Then, he accidentally awakened his superpower. It is also the so-called superpower. However, his superpower, it's not about breathing fire or any other weird ability. His superpower is the ability that allows him to travel to some fantasy works and some derivative worlds. Moreover, in that world, He also became the 13 doctors, a scientist with a degree. That NZT drug is very miraculous. It can develop the brain and make everything clear. It can be said that it is a heaven-defying magic weapon for improving IQ and developing the brain. 13 doctorate degrees are simply trivial. Relax. What kind of photographic memory is just ordinary? However, this drug also has a fatal flaw. It has strong side effects, which can make the body uncoordinated and even cause out-of-control emotions. Even, in the end, the drug will dependence. Therefore, Chen Ang traveled to this world. And his purpose was the silver-white suitcase in the man's hand. He knew exactly what was in it. It was a new type of virus, CPH4. This CPH4 is the source of growth hormone from the human fetal period, also has the effect of developing brain potential. In the movie, the heroine was invaded by a large amount of CPH4, which caused all the cells in her body to be stimulated by the drug, and her brain development surpassed that of ordinary people. From the age of 20% to 40%, gradually moving towards 100%, and finally, integrated with the universe. It can be said that it is like a disguised form of body and Tao. From then on, she is the universe, she is everywhere. And Chen Ang's the purpose is naturally not to become one with the universe. This heaven-defying drug is an excellent research material for him. He hesitated to take NZT, which also develops the brain. Chen Ang has a very strong desire for this powerful drug. Desire? At this time, a fierce quarrel began over there. The man even used handcuffs directly and leaned on the heroine's hands. She angrily asked him to untie them. At this time, Chen Ang stepped forward and passed by them. Suddenly said in a nonchalant voice, "That's not true." "Who are you?" Richard was stunned, and then he looked at Chen Ang coldly and said in a cold voice, "Listen, boy, no matter who you are, you'd better forget what you heard, or I will." However, before he finished speaking, he couldn't continue. Because, a gun appeared in Chen Ang's hand. Richard raised his hand obediently, and the heroine on the side looked at the scene in shock. Chen Ang said calmly, "Okay, as long as you listen to me, I guarantee that you will be fine. Now, get in the bus with me." The two of them shut their mouths and followed Chen Ang obediently to the bus next to them. Before Richard could sit down, Chen Ang hit Richard hard on the back of the head, causing Richard to faint immediately. The heroine stood aside knowingly, and at the same time, she begged, "I don't know anything, no, in fact, I just met this guy." "It will be fine soon," Chen Ang comforted. Soon, Chen Ang drove the car out of the building, locked Richard in the basement, and took the heroine to a huge laboratory. In the laboratory, there were many cold instruments, as well as many beakers and test tubes. The heroine was a little uneasy and asked in a low voice, "Sir, can I go?" Chen Ang patted the chair and said calmly, "Lie down now, I have to make sure you forget something." "No sir, I promise," the heroine was still begging. However, what greeted her was Chen Ang's cold voice, "Lie down." The heroine lay down obediently. Then, she saw Chen Ang put his ear to the password box, fiddled with it twice, and the box opened. And there are 4 packs of blue powder in the box. She didn't know what it was for. Before she could see it clearly, her head felt heavy and she passed out. Chen Ang ignored the woman and carefully selected some from the 4 packs of CPH4 and began to analyze. This is a small amount of secretion secreted by the mother when she is 6 weeks pregnant. It acts on the developing brain of the fetus. It has such magical properties. He is the most important thing given to the human mind, and this crystallized gem-like thing is, for adults, a poison that can cause death if inhaled in small amounts. In the movie, NZT and CPH4 are 2 completely different things, but after the movie becomes reality, it is absolutely impossible to say that these 2 drugs are not similar. The mechanism of their operation and their impact on the brain must be there are similarities. This similar mechanism will be an important direction for me to improve CPH4. Chen Ang murmured, took a test tube containing CPH4, and disappeared directly into the laboratory. Yes, he disappeared directly and left this world. When he appeared again, he was already in another technological world. In the underground experimental base in the world. At this time, he put on a white coat and greeted people enthusiastically. Dr. Chen, the progress of NZT has been fruitful. The basic pharmacological analysis results you requested have been released, and the expert team is preparing. Doctor, the lab is ready. At this time, people kept coming forward to report. Chen Ang nodded, and then turned to enter the laboratory. This is the best laboratory in the world, capable of manufacturing with high precision NZT. If it weren't for the powerful side effects, his brain power could even be developed to 40%. Of course, if that were the case, he would become an idiot in 2 hours. So, what he wants most is what needs to be solved is that powerful side effect. And the time of the different worlds he travels through is relatively independent. When he is not in that world, time stops, so he cannot use time acceleration to cheat. The most important thing is, time represents lifespan. Lifespan is already the second most urgent problem to be solved. At this time, he took some of the blood of the heroine of the world and CPH4 to start research. After working hard all afternoon, finally, a tube of blue the liquid was held in his hand. The side effects of NZT have been reduced by half, but the research on CPH4 has made no progress. It can only prove that Lucy's serum has a miraculous effect on reducing the side effects of NZT. Chen Ang frowned and sighed. It seems it's time to overclock for the second time. The degree of Chen Ang's brain operation is divided into different overclocking by himself. The weakened version of NZT without side effects is ordinary overclocking. The normal version of NZT is overclocked by 1 degree. The enhanced version of NZT is overclocked a second time. Of course, on top of this, there is also 3 degrees of overclocking. It was extremely concentrated NZT, but it was also called a semi-finished product of brain-dead potion by Chen Ang. To put it bluntly, if you dare to eat the concentrated version of NZT, you will definitely become an idiot in 2 hours. Next, Chen Ang started research that lasted for half a year. NZT's medicine has made significant progress. Not only did the normal version of NZT have no side effects for overclocking for a time, but it also allowed overclocking for the second time to achieve a low side effect medicine. It also completed preliminary pharmacological research on CPH4, but its side effects are still strong. Lucy had been locked up in that world for a week. Chen Ang was extremely careful to maintain her relatively happy mood regarding this precious research material. He only takes a limited amount of blood. But for research, he still took the risk and took some of her spinal cord stem cells. At this time, Chen Ang looked at the experimental body of NZT medicine and opened his notes. Finally, he pondered. Perhaps, Chinese medicine is correct. The brain and spine are the source of human wisdom. The internal organs are also responsible for emotions. There are also numerous discoveries that coincide with the theory of Chinese medicine. Chen Ang thought, picked up the Suwen beside him, and turned to the chapter about Qi. Then, he began to record. Whether it was the protagonist of this world or Lucy in that world. Perhaps, Lucy's side effects, it's related to Qi. Qi. Chen Ang thought. Doctor, there are important results. At this moment, a researcher hurried over. Well, it looks like Lucy's spinal cord stem cells have a surprise for us, Chen Ang chuckled, and immediately strode towards another laboratory. Soon, he got good news. Success. Under the influence of catalyst number 2, Lucy's performance was extremely stable, and we even made unexpected discoveries. The white-haired old man said, pointing to the liquid table in the center. There was a purple potion there, glowing under the light, shining with magnificent light. The researchers around were looking at it obsessively, as if they were seeing a rare treasure. This is a miracle in the history of human evolution. The further development of the brain will allow us to become another kind of existence. Chen Ang looked at the research report in his hand, and his eyes couldn't help showing joy. This thing is not like NZT. NZT can only develop the brain for a short period of time. After this period, you have to take medicine. CPH4 brain development is permanent. But similarly, CPH4 has fatal side effects. Now, the Institute has finally developed a weakened version of CPH4, reducing the side effects to a range that the human body can tolerate. How's the effect? Chen Ang turned to look at the old man and asked. The old man took a deep breath and put himself into a higher level of overclocking state 4.9. His eyes returned to calmness, but he was still a little excited. The effect is amazing. PhD. The experimental question remained in the overclocking state and could even enter overclocking 1 degree easily. As long as he concentrated and did not need any assistance, he could independently turn on overclocking 1 degree. According to our inspection, his brain development has exceeded 100%. 20. This part is permanently activated. Permanently activated, enter at any time. This is no longer an auxiliary potion, but a superpower, an overclocking superpower. The brain is overclocked by 20%, and you can clearly hear distant sounds, judge the distance of the sound, and predict the distance of the sound. Judge the opponent's actions, absorb a lot of knowledge without headaches, have no fear, and have super judgment. This kind of person can easily doth strength and movement of human muscles are at their limit, and vision can capture the speed of bullets, feel ultraviolet light, and even electromagnetic waves. He is the strongest hacker, the strongest fighter, the master of guns, and a scientist. But the price is a gradually collapsing body and increasingly weak emotions. The price of being strong must be a strong heart. The body of Superman must be the soul of Superman. It seems that I must also find a way to synchronize the strength of my soul and body. Chen Ang's eyes flickered. When he was sure that the side effects of the drug were just suppressed emotions and rationality taking over his thinking, he decided to strengthen himself first, and then travel to other worlds. Finally, Chen Ang sat up from the test table, his eyes, extraordinarily clear, looking at the world, seems to have undergone some wonderful changes. At this moment, you can see that the picture turns. In the picture, Chen Ang is wearing an ancient Taoist robe, and under the clothes, he was fully armed with hidden weapons, and he was carrying a small wooden box on his back, just like a barefoot doctor. He locked the door directly, and the next second, with a thought, he disappeared directly into the room. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 222. Damn it, traveling across the world. This Dr. Chen actually traveled across the world to seize opportunities. Worry, isn't this a villain? Travel through the heavens. Good guy, when he already knows this world, wouldn't it be a direct act of defiance for him to travel to that world? Tisk, sometimes I have thought about what it would be like if I traveled to a perfect plane, but I just thought about it, but I didn't think about it. Is there anyone in the world who really has the golden finger to travel through the world? Traveling across the world, by the way, this Dr. Chen shouldn't be considered a golden finger with a crushing IQ, right? Yes, I feel that for Dr. Chen, traveling through time and space is his golden finger. A golden finger that travels through time and space? A bit cowhide, a bit something. No, traveling through time and space is a golden finger, but equally, his IQ is his biggest golden finger. You can only know what it is exactly after watching it. By the way, the world that Chen Ang travels through is the world of movies, novels, etc. Can it be understood that if Chen Ang makes a movie by himself, or finds someone to invest in making a movie, the movie can also become a derivative world? Is it possible to travel to this world? Tisk, don't even mention it, it's really possible. That's right, let's just set up a movie protagonist. He gets some kind of golden finger at the beginning. He only needs to eat it to become invincible and strong, and there are no side effects. Then, pretending to be cool all the way. So what's the point of watching a movie like this? There's nothing to see, it's just for Chen Ang to get the protagonist's golden finger. Tisk, I feel like it's not that simple. With Chen Ang's mind, if it was possible, he would have done it long ago. Since he didn't do it, it means it can't be done. It's not impossible, I feel like Chen Ang didn't think of it. I don't think it's possible. With a mind like this, how could I not have thought of it? I don't know what the specific situation is. There should be some restrictions, right? It is also possible that what he traveled through was only movies or other derivative worlds that appeared in the past. His powers were fixed at that moment, and movies that appear in the future are not included in the category of time travel. 16. Not to mention, your explanation is the most reasonable. By the way, Chen Ang is wearing ancient clothes. Is he planning to travel to the ancient world? Haha, it doesn't matter which world Chen Ang traveled to. What I'm most jealous of right now are the two things NZT and CPH4. They are really outrageous. Developing the brain and making it appear in an overclocked state, what kind of cheat is this? What the hell, is it fake? There is such a thing in all the worlds. Well, what appears in the world of technology is actually quite normal. Yes, in the world of science and technology, what other genetic potions and superpower potions are there? Just by injecting this potion, you can gain physical strength and even superpowers. It's ordinary, but in all the worlds, this is truly heaven-defying. Damn it, everyone is dumbfounded. Does this thing actually exist? Damn it, it would be good to give me one to study. Overclocking the brain, developing the brain, unexpectedly, the world of science and technology in the mortal world also has such heaven-defying miracle medicine. Horrible. It's just that the side effects are a bit serious. It cannot be said that the side effects are a bit serious. When we can practice cultivation, the side effects are not considered side effects anymore. Hey, among these three fortune-telling children, one relies on his own wisdom, one relies on omniscience, and the other just takes drugs. Is that okay? By the way, this Chen Ang can travel through the heavens, right? Do you think it is possible for him to travel through time to our world? Impossible, absolutely impossible. When he travels through the heavens, it is at most a small heaven, not the real heavens and realms. Didn't he say that? The time in the worlds he traveled through is not equal. After leaving a world, that world just pauses, while the time in our world flows. Yes, that is at best a small world. It absolutely cannot be the great all heavens. At this time, countless people in the world were discussing. Looking at the picture, Dr. Chen Angchen, who was preparing to travel through time, everyone was amazed. This is the second person besides Li Hao from the previous chat group in the world. An existence that travels across the heavens. At this time, countless people looked at the Great Dao Golden List again. At this time, in the picture, as Chen Ang traveled through time, the screen flashed and he appeared in a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters. This is obviously the world he wants to travel through. After traveling through time, he immediately inquired about the location. Then, head to Huashan as soon as possible. He dressed himself up like a barefoot doctor. At the same time, he really had some medical skills and was deadly all the way. Moreover, he tried his best to get in touch with some martial arts people. In 2 months, he not only collected information about the knife wounds and sores of countless knights in the martial arts world, but also obtained many internal strength samples. He also became somewhat famous in the martial arts world, earning the nickname Sai Weichuo. Today, Chen Ang's brain is overclocked and can stabilize at more than 10%, permanently. At the same time, he can also enter the 20% or 25% state independently without any side effects. Therefore, his control over himself is perfect, and he can even see through other people's bodies. As long as there is enough data to support it, he can really be an encyclopedia. Feel free to point out other people's practice methods and point out other people's posture errors at will. Along the way, he became famous and really famous. He also opened a medical clinic. There are really countless people who come to see Chen Ang every day. On this day, he was giving guidance to a man who was practicing external martial arts, and he was so relieved that he was cured. Sister Yilin, let's find another medical clinic. At this moment, a sweet voice came from behind Chen Ang. Chen Ang looked back and saw a little girl of 11 or 12 years old, looking at him timidly and a little scared. It always felt like she had met some strange guy. And beside her, there was a pretty nun. Chen Ang glanced at the little girl, with an indifferent expression on his face and no explanation at all. He probably knew who the other person was. He also probably knew now the timeline. The little girl is Chu Feiyin, and the nun is Yilin. The timeline is roughly after Ling Huchong was injured in the fight with Tian Baguang, and now, Lu Zhenfeng's family has not been wiped out. He thought, that's when at this time, the pretty nun who was 16 or 17 years old said something to the little girl. It was just that Chen Ang had good medical skills and a great reputation, so it was right to find him. Then, she asked Chen Ang to visit him. Go and treat Ling Huchong. Come Chen Ang, the purpose of this world is to cultivate internal strength. As long as you strengthen your physical fitness, your body will not collapse. He and Wanjie did the same thing, except that Wanjie can only let himself evolve, follow the objective laws of the world, and follow the objective laws of the human body. But Chen Ang, who can travel through time, can definitely practice internal strength. This practice of internal strength can really make his body stronger. As long as he has internal strength, it is very easy to reduce the side effects after overclocking. And in this world, he also showed the incredible power of his overclocked brain. Others practice hard and need the guidance of a master. But Chen Ang is contrary to nature. Unlike others, after only 2 or 3 rounds of fighting, he saw through everything about the other person and directly learned everything the opponent knew. This is truly unbelievable. There is no way, his brain is too unbelievable. Forcefully he can memorize other people's techniques, and he can perfectly control his body. As long as he remembers it, it means that he knows it. Moreover, he can also make deductions and introduce new ones. If someone hits someone with a hidden weapon technique, he will fight back directly. And the evolved back moves are even incomprehensible to the original owner. This is Chen Ang's current learning ability and understanding ability. This is simply cheating. But for Chen Ang, practicing and cultivating internal strength is not the so-called struggle for power. Cruel. In his view, martial arts is a path of evolution used to sublimate the origin of life and train the essence of the soul. Internal strength is the strange power to develop the potential of the human body and balance the yin and yang of the 5 elements. What is the struggle for strength and ruthlessness? What is the dispute between rivers and lakes? But they are all crooked ways. No matter how good your martial arts is, can it be compared to a fighter plane? Can it be compared to a space battleship? What kind of fighting? What a joke. If you have human body treasures, don't dig them up, don't take the path of immortality and evolution, and the right way is to exercise your spirit. Wouldn't it be ridiculous to chase those trails? In Chen Ang's view, the human body is a deep well that cannot be dug. When you think that its potential has been exhausted, it will surprise you. When Chen Ang's overclocking state is fully turned on, he can control every tiny nerve ending and micromuscle in the human body, and understand every detail of the body. But even so, he still has cells. The power of genes cannot be controlled. It is said that after several months of exploration, the internal and spiritual powers are still a fog. These are the things he wants to understand and decipher now. And when it comes to this world, if we want to talk about miraculous skills, we have to count the 5 books Yi Jin Jing, Tai Chi Sutra, Xixia Magic, Sunflower Book and Star Absorbing Technique. Yi Jin Jing, created by Bodhidharma, the founder of Zen Buddhism in the East, the art of Yi Jin Jing circles the veins of the body and ties the spirit of the 5 internal organs. Moisten it from the outside, and after practicing the sutra, your heart will be moved and your strength will be released. It will be accumulated and released naturally, and it will come out naturally without realizing it, like the rising of the tide, like the hair of thunder. Tai Chi Sutra, created by Zhang Sanfen, it emphasizes tenacity. The so-called 4 ounces of lifting 1,000 pounds is simply the supreme method of laying the foundation. Xixia Shengong, Huashan School's secret skill of Zhenshu. When it first appeared, it appeared, or disappeared, and was as continuous as clouds. It accumulated strength and was extremely tenacious, overwhelming the sky and the earth, and was unstoppable. Sunflower Book, according to legend, it was created by a eunuch of the former dynasty. It is a martial arts secret book that focuses on internal skills and supplements external skills. This thing is absolutely unique in this world. It is known as the sun rises in the east. I am the only one who is undefeated. The beginner's level of Xixia magic skill, the Sunflower Manual reaches its peak. Those who practice the Sunflower Book are definitely the top masters in the world. And Dongfangbubi, now the leader of the demon cult, is the Sunflower Book of cultivation. Even the Evil Sword Manual, which is well known in the world, only has 40% of the value of the Sunflower Book. But it can still cause a bloody storm in the world, making Lin Pingzi's father unparalleled, which shows that his what's great. But the only drawback is probably that if you want to practice this skill, you must first commit suicide. Star Absorbing Technique, this thing is specially designed to absorb other people's internal energy. Others have been practicing for decades. When I use the star absorbing technique, I will directly absorb all the other party's internal energy. It can be said to be extremely vicious, making people unable to guard against it, and it is simply terrifying. Of course, Chen Ang didn't like this star-attracting method at all and regarded it as rubbish. In his opinion, the internal strength he cultivates is his own. What does it count if he absorbs other people's? Cultivation is not about being brave and ruthless, nor is it about beating and killing 990, but about pursuing the way to immortality. However, in general, if you practice any of these powerful techniques, you will be able to dominate the world. Of course, this is only in this world, in this time and space. However, these techniques are already very powerful. At this time, countless people in the world looked at Chen Ang talking about the wonders of this world like countless treasures, and everyone was a little surprised. Good guy, I never thought that this lower world also has some good techniques. So this is where this star-absorbing technique comes from. I was still curious before, good guy, actually appeared. Sunflower Book. What the hell, desire this power must first come from the palace. What the hell is this? Isn't that too cruel? Damn it, I felt so cold when I saw it. Hey, ruthless people, those who can connect with the Sunflower Book are really ruthless people. If you want to practice this skill, you must first retreat from the palace. Unbelievable. It's so outrageous. Good guy, it's so unbelievable that I can't even think about it. This Yi Jin Jing is a bit interesting. I feel that if it were not for the limitations of the world, this Yi Jin Jing could be a perfect foundational method. I feel that Xixia magical skills and Tai Chi Sutra are also perfect basic techniques. In any other world, these 3 techniques would be able to shine. Hey, in our world, there is also the Yi Jin Jing, not to mention, it is really a unique skill. Do you feel like this Xixia magical skill is a bit stretchy? That's it, why should I enter this world? Well, does Chen Ang look down on the magic of attracting stars? I will directly evolve the Beiming divine art using the star absorbing technique. I still think Li Hao's star attracting method is awesome. Tisk, tisk, although he looks down on the magic of absorbing stars, I feel that this magic of absorbing stars is truly heaven-defying. If I get it, maybe I can develop a technique to absorb other people's mana. In fact, they are all the same, with the same origin. In this world, there is only internal force, so this star-absorbing method can only absorb internal force. If you change the world, if you practice spiritual power, then according to the operation route of the star-absorbing method, you can also absorb spiritual power. Then according to what you said, wouldn't there be no distinction between high and low skills? No, there is still a question of transformation. How much spiritual power can you transform? How much internal energy can you transform? This is all determined by the practice. If you practice this rubbish technique, you can only absorb the amount of 1 spiritual stone a day. But others, if their skills are good, can absorb 10 stars, and can transform them perfectly. This is the difference between high and low skills. It can only be said that there is something special about this star-absorbing method. Some skills have no grade. Yes, just like the Fenju and the star-absorbing technique. Tisk, as expected, there are really many strange people in all the worlds. I don't know who created the star-absorbing technique. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 223. At this time, countless people were discussing in all the worlds. These 5 skills, well, although many people look down on the Zixia magic skill, there are really many people who are interested in other things. Especially the star-absorbing method. However, at this moment, countless people in the world heard Chen Ang introduce the last half of the miracle. He said 5.5 books. He said 5 books before, and the last half of them is Dugu 9 swords. The Dugu 9 swords were left behind by a guy named Dugu Kyubai back then. Dugu seeks defeat. He has been in the rivers and lakes for more than 30 years, killing all the enemies and defeating all the heroes. The world is no longer able to resist him. He has no choice but to live in seclusion in a deep valley and make eagles his friends. Alas, if you can't find a rival in your life, it's so lonely and embarrassing. This is Dugu Kyubai. In the past, he was definitely the top being in the world, and could even be said to be the top being in the entire world. And he also left behind a sword tomb, which was his sword back then. The first sword is a blue light long sword, which is sharp and fierce and indestructible. It can be used to compete with the heroes of Heshuo in front of the weak crown. The second sword was the Ziwei soft sword. He used it before he was 30 years old. He accidentally injured a righteous man and was unlucky. He regretted it so much that he abandoned it in a deep valley. The third sword is the dark iron heavy sword. The heavy sword has no edge, is ingenious and incompetent, and was wielded to dominate the world before the age of 40. The fourth sword is a branch. After the age of 40, any object can be used as a sword: grass, wood, bamboo, and stone. From then on, you can practice it intensively and gradually reach the point where no sword is better than a sword. These are the 4 swords of the sword demon Dugu Kyubai. They also represent the 4 realms. And Dugu Kyubai also created a new set of swordsmanship, which is called Dugu 9 swords. The Dugu 9 swords, taken from the Book of Changes, is the pinnacle of martial arts in the world, and it contains all kinds of secrets. Returning to the younger sister tends to Weavua tends to the same person, and the same person tends to the great one, A turns to C, B turns to Gen turns to Gui. The friendship between Ziku, the friendship between Chen and Si, the friendship between Wanjie, wind and thunder are the same, and the mountains and rivers are the same. One change, water and fire are one change, Qi and Kun stimulates each other, Zhen Dui stimulates each other, Li Sun stimulates each other, 3 increases to become 5, 5 increases to become 9, the 9 swords potential is, the final form. There are various changes, with based on the general formula of physical performance, there are a total of 360 variations. Broken sword style, break the sword techniques of all schools and schools all over the world. Breaking knife style, break all kinds of single swords, double swords, lancets, ghost heads, machetes, and machetes. Spear breaking style, break all kinds of spears, euphorbias, snake spears, eyebrow sticks, maces, white wax poles, zen staffs, and convenient shovels and all kinds of long-edged weapons. Whip breaking style, break all kinds of steel whips, appointment prongs, kidnappers, eme thorns, daggers, axes, iron plates, octagonal hammers, iron vertebrae and other short weapons. Rope breaking style, break all kinds of long ropes, short whips, 3-section sticks, chain guns, iron chains, fishing nets, flying hammers, meteors and other soft weapons. Broken palm style, breaks all kinds of fist and toe finger and palm skills, long fist and short punch, grasping points, eagle claws and tiger claws, iron sand palm and other fist and foot skills. Breaking arrow style, to break all kinds of hidden weapons, you must first learn the art of listening to wind weapons, use the movement of heaven and earth to break away all kinds of hidden weapons launched by the enemy, and use the strength of the attack to reflect the hidden weapons fired by the opponent to injure the enemy. Qi breaking style, used to defeat opponents with superior internal strength. The key is to focus on the mind. The formula is as follows: what is Qi? It is the tie of nothingness and the root of creation. Its greatness has no outside, its smallness has no inside, it is vast and endless, and it is boundless. When you look into the darkness, the bright light shines down, it is invisible and silent. Those who are born are boundless, and those who are successful have shortcomings. It is born and formed, and it remains unchanged in the present and ancient times. The essence of the atmosphere is divine and clear, and it exists in one heart. This is the Dugu 9 swords, which can be said to cover all aspects. At this time, countless people in the world saw the scene and listened to Chen Ang's narration. Everyone was a little surprised and stunned. Seeking defeat alone? The sword demon seeks defeat alone? 4 swords, 4 realms. Damn it, I feel like this would be common in our world, right? Fierce and fierce, invincible, can you use it to compete with the heroes of Heshuo before the weak crown? At this time, Dugu Kaiofei should be young and frivolous, and his art career has not yet been completed. So he used a sharp sword to fight against the heroes. In fact, what is immature at this time is not just the swordsmanship of Dugu Kaiofei. His mentality and swordsmanship are still very childish. Young people before the age of 20 are all like this. Young and impulsive, they thought they could dominate the world with sharp weapons in their hands. Little did they know that at this time, they could only compete with the heroes of Heshuo. The Zaiwei soft sword was used before 30 years old. It accidentally injured a righteous man and was unlucky. I regretted it so much that it was abandoned in the deep valley. Before the age of 30, it is the time to enter the world and make achievements. Young and passionate, it is inevitable to make mistakes. This is what Dugu Kaiofei is like at this time. My martial arts skills have naturally improved a lot compared to when I was a teenager, but my outlook on life has become blurry. This is a common mistake people of this age make. We don't know the ins and outs of accidental injury, but we do know the philosophy of life he wanted to convey. People all make mistakes when they are young, and they will be unbearable mistakes. When we are old and frail, we still feel ashamed when we look back. We can only abandon the deep valley in order to draw lessons from it. A heavy sword has no edge, and great skill has no workmanship. Before the age of 40, he relied on it to dominate the world. After the age of 30, he is smooth and sophisticated, and gradually understands people and things. The so-called great wisdom is like foolishness, great courage is like cowardice, and this is what it means when combined with the way of martial arts. At this time, Dugukyubai was rampant in the world, unparalleled. When you are proud of the spring breeze, you must also start to look back on your past and summarize your half-life. At this time, I finally understood that the so-called master is just that, but so what if he is invincible? Therefore, he put away his previous wildness and slowly began to pay attention to his personal cultivation. The Ipei is the best interpretation of Dugukyukyu's mentality during this period. The age of 40 he lifts his weight with ease, is calm and mature. The last one, after the age of 40, is not stuck in objects. Plants, trees, bamboos, and rocks can be used as swords. From then on, he practiced intensively and gradually reached the point where no sword is better than a sword. After the age of 40, the age of knowing one's destiny and realizing one's destiny is approaching, and it is also the time of becoming swordless. At this time, Dugukyubai is still invincible in the world. It can be said that he has felt the loneliness of being alone at the top. When a person has fulfilled his long-cherished wish and achieved the goal he has pursued throughout his life, in fact, life has basically come to an end. At this time and age, what else do people pursue? What other desires are there? It's gone, and it shouldn't be. If you still have desires at this point, it will be greed. Without a sword is the case without a sword is better than having a sword. In terms of martial arts, it can be said to be the supreme cultivation. What kind of swordsmanship is this? This is obviously life. No, this is life, but it is also the way of swordsmanship. This Dugukyubai is a genius. No, a complete monster. Yes, this Dugukyubai is a complete monster. From sharp swords, soft swords, to heavy swords, and no swords, it can be said that Dugukyubai has explained the way of swordsmanship incisively and vividly. Without a sword, one can win with a sword. A lonely man seeking defeat made me see the Tao. Good guy, if this Dugukyubai were in a larger world, in a vast world, he would be a master of swordsmanship. Kendo Kendo. This Dugukyubai actually changed his life to the way of swordsmanship, which is incredible. It feels like there is something in this world. And the Dugu 9 swords, Tisk, Dugukyubai is breaking all laws in the world. It seems that this thing is not impossible in our world. Damn it, I seem to have learned the Dugu 9 swords. Well, I have realized the realm of the 4 swords. It turns out that at the end of the sword, no sword is better than a sword. Life is like this, and so is the sword. What a pity that Dugukyubai is such a monster. Such a talented and beautiful person could only end up in a lonely place. It is sad and deplorable. Dugu seeks defeat. It is true that the world has limited his performance. Alas, you think, is this Dugukyubai dead? Or ascended? Ascension? Disappear, how can this Dugukyubai ascend? This world is just this world. Is there a way to ascend? After all, it is still a low-level martial arts world, and it is indeed impossible to fly. Alas, what a pity for this solitary talent. In the end, I ended up trapped in this world without any highlight moments. At this time, countless people in the world are discussing, and everyone sighs. This is just like Wanjie, who was born in the wrong world and the wrong era. As long as this Wanjie is in a world with spiritual practice in the middle, it wouldn't grow so slowly. If this Dugukyubai were to change to a world with a slightly higher level of martial arts, he wouldn't be lonely and Liao 11 becoming friends with the eagle. However, Wanjie was different. He entered the universe, still rising, 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 and became the great Emperor Zaiwei. And what about this Dugukyubai? The name of the sword demon is left empty, silent and lonely. Countless people sighed, and at this time, it can be seen, from the picture, it can be seen that Chen Ang has adopted the world's martial arts for his own use, and even created new techniques based on medicine and other sciences. The star-absorbing technique is just a technique he created. It's just one of the methods. His Essentials of the Golden Chamber is the most upright and peaceful way to nourish the body and mind. It can prolong life, protect the body and life, and prevent all diseases. It adheres to the changes of yin and yang in the human body and rises and falls in the 4 seasons. It is the most peaceful and upright method. Martial arts skills. It can strengthen the righteousness and control external evils. With one palm, it can break up the balance of yin and yang and maintain the 5 qi. The person's wei yang will be suppressed and the yin wei will be blocked. If you don't know the unique technique of this typhoid magic fist, you can only waiting for typhoid fever to die. Not only typhoid fever, but also febrile diseases, fever diseases, damp diseases, dry diseases, heat-related diseases, colds, miscellaneous diseases, plus cold diseases. This is his heaven-defying skill. The so-called one punch, one blow the palm, after being struck out, would directly make people sick. It was simply terrifying. In one battle, he beat Zhou Chan to the point where he was dripping with cold sweat. In the end, he was subdued by Chen Ang and became Chen Ang's lackey, well, little brother. And Chen Ang, too known as the Daoist plagues, they are Chen Ang's henchmen. Oh, no, they are his 8 diseases true monarch. After this battle, Chen Ang left this world. However, the speed of time in this world, but it has also begun. It is not as good as before, time is frozen. It seems that the time flow rate of all worlds has begun to synchronize. However, this is not a big problem. Soon, Chen Ang started to a new round of time travel. This time, he is going to a rainforest world. In this world, the Amazon River rainforest world, there lives the mysterious Ashama clan. They regard pythons as gods and worship them. In order to reveal uncovering their mysterious veil, an anthropologist decided to go to the tropical rainforest with a documentary director to conduct a scientific investigation and shoot a documentary on the Yaxima tribe. At this time, they met a snake catcher people. In this rainforest, there are many ferocious pythons, which are very huge and look like mutations. And these pythons are indeed mutated. They use an orchid called blood orchid. According to legend, this thing it is extremely rare. There is a local legend that this kind of orchid can make humans stay young forever and live forever. However, it is almost impossible to obtain this kind of orchid because there are giant pythons around them as guardians. And Chen the purpose is blood orchid. He controls his own pheromones. In the eyes of those pythons, he is no different from a stone. Looking at the blood orchid, he gently picks a piece and puts it in his mouth to chew. Then, a bitter juice comes out. Seeping out, he felt the changes in his body. His body was like a tight machine. Analyst, the weight of the blood orchid. Some of his cells could not bear it and died directly, while the other part, but changes occurred quietly. Not long after, he felt that a kind of gray and ferocious cells began to divide. It is very aggressive and infective. The cells around the infected person attack the surrounding cells and begin to divide rapidly, consuming a lot of nutrients. This is like an even crazier cancer cell, quickly spreading to tens of thousands of cells. Chen Ang frowned, then controlled the blood vessels, cut off the supply, and separated the thing, Linos. A flesh bead soon appeared on his right arm, and the flesh bead fell directly on a big snake under the cliff. The fleshy sprouts took root and sprouted directly, and passed through the snake's scales. Soon, they reached the top of the head, took root, sprouted, and swelled into a blood-red crown of flesh. The big snake struggled, and suddenly, its eyes looked at Chang'an, and with a sharp bite, it bit Chang'an. However, there was a bigger snake that suddenly bit the snake's 7-inch vital part. In the end, Chang'an picked some blood orchid plants, collected samples, soil, water, and even companion plants, etc., and then disappeared directly into this world. He is not sure whether he can become a god or live forever. Then, everyone saw that Chang'an started cultivating blood orchid goo and started practicing elixir. He broke the genetic shackles and evolved himself. Break the lock of wisdom and sit cross-legged. Enlighten the Tao and practice Zen. He pointed his finger at the void, which was chaotic, and a grand sound sounded unnamed, the beginning of heaven and earth, named, the mother of all things. Therefore, there is always no desire to observe its wonder, there is always desire to observe its beauty. These two they have the same origin but different names. They are both called Xian. Immediately, another compassionate voice sounded, I have heard that if a good man or a good woman takes up the mind of an Uttara Samyak Sambadai, why should they abide in it and how can they subdue their mind? The way to observe the sky, the way to follow the sky. You can believe it but don't see its form. It's sentimental but invisible. I heard that there was a real person in ancient times who could grasp the heaven and the earth, grasp the yin and yang, breathe the essence, and guard the spirit independently. His muscles were as one, so he could live in the heaven and the earth without an end. This is the birth of his path. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. EMC bar. At this moment, Chang'an was like a god. The power of blood orchids refining medicine caused earth-shaking changes in his body. His hands and feet became thicker, and scales appeared evenly. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 224. Oh, it seems like I'm starting to become less of a human being. Gee, why did you have such a change after eating that thing? Could it be that the first child of destiny who is not a human being appears? The first child of fate who is not a human being? Gee, is this a direct path to body evolution? By the way, shouldn't the body's evolution path be like Wanjie's, which evolved normally and evolved into a three-eyed clan? What the hell are these scales on your body? The scales on this body must be a physical mutation, right? It feels like genetic collapse. To be honest, I don't think this blood orchid has anything against the heavens. I feel that the immortality medicine is more against the heavens. I think Chang'an can completely travel to the world that covers the sky, and then directly swallow the immortality medicine, no holy medicine. Indeed, I feel that that kind of thing is more suitable for the human body, not this blood orchid. After all, this blood orchid is for animals to eat. If humans eat it, there will still be some problems after all. At this time, countless people in the world were discussing. They were amazed to see Chang'an who was gradually changing in the picture. However, Chang'an did not change his body as everyone imagined. After the abnormality appeared, at the same time as the change, he opened his eyes, and the changes in his body disappeared instantly, as if it had never happened. Overclocking 4 degrees. Yes, at that moment, he entered overclocking 4 degrees. But fortunately, the genetic changes were controlled, otherwise the body would collapse. Next, countless people in the world saw that Chang'an began to travel again. And this time, the world he traveled through was a world where technology and the Force coexisted. The world. In that world, science and technology are advanced, and there are countless wars between planets. And in this world, there is an extremely special existence called the Force. Chang'an came here, naturally, for the Force. In this world, people who can sense those who practice the Force are called Jedi Knights. However, the planet he came to was just a slightly desolate planet, and there were no Jedi Knights at all. However, he met a little guy smoothly. This little guy in the early stage, this guy was also a protagonist, so he only had to wait until the time came for this little guy to successfully meet the Jedi. And in this world, Chen Ang found that many strange things had appeared in him. The same ability. He seems to be able to sense the electromagnetic waves and electromagnetic forces around him. 717 is like countless rays of light falling from the sky. When he pulls one of them, he can feel a stream of strange information. If he pulls another one, he will feel the strange information. Can feel other brief information. He is like a machine, able to receive all information. Information suddenly becomes visible in his eyes. And the language people here speak, Chen Ang is just after a little analysis, a little listening, and a few words from them, he mastered it. Very easily. This is the ability of his brain that is now able to reach its peak overclocking of 4 degrees. Accept information, control everything, and listen to everything. Plus with his inner strength, it can be said that he has become a member of the non-human. He picked up a part and could see that the part had been defended in the past in time. It was originally just a piece of raw material. It was smelted, forged, finally formed, and then ran and worn in the spacecraft. In the end, the progress was wrong and it lost its function. He seemed to have seen through the life of a part and could sense all the information about the part. This improvement in ability allowed him to he was slightly surprised. After trying it for a while, he discovered that this ability was an additional effect brought by his overclocked brain. His range of perception was even greater. At this time, countless people in all the world saw the scene and their eyes widened. Wanjie also perceives information. Can Chen Ang also perceive information? No, it's different. Compared with Wanjie, Chen Ang's ability is simply a castrated version of the castrated version. What he perceives is the perception of information, while Wanjie's perception is true omniscience. Indeed, after all, it is still not as good as Wanjie. Wanjie not only looks at parts, but also looks at people. However, there is no doubt that when Chen Ang grows to a certain height, he will become omniscient like Wanjie. Tisk tisk, one is omniscient in information from the beginning, and Chen Ang has to become stronger in various ways and try his best to improve himself. This alone is incomparable. If you can't compare, you can't compare, but that doesn't mean the upper limit is lower. The pace of growth is the same. Wanjie is omniscient, but he still needs to strengthen his body, and Chen Ang, while strengthening his body, then the brain is also overclocking rapidly, but the starting point of the two is different. I think the end point of the two must be the same. Why do I feel that Chen Ang's endpoint is stronger? I also feel that Chen Ang's endpoint seems to be stronger. First, he travels through different worlds and can absorb the systems of different worlds, and finally converge on him, and then make him the true supreme. As for Wanjie, he only ability to ascend in dimension within one's own universe. Since it's about upgrading the dimension, why can't the entire universe be upgraded in the end? Beyond the entire universe? From the perspective of the last Black Emperor, there is a broader world above this universe. I don't know what kind of world that is. At this time, countless people were discussing. Looking at the picture, Chen Ang, who was gradually becoming more and more mature, also showed an envious smile. He was really envious. Wanjie's ability has already made countless people envious, but Wanjie's abilities came out of nowhere. No one knew where Wanjie's abilities came from. But now, I saw that someone actually used some kind of medicine to achieve abilities similar to Wanjie's. Tisk. Light, this is what makes countless people envious. Of course, it is not only envy, but also the desire to get it. It is said that Co4 is extracted from a certain hormone produced during the 6th month of pregnancy. Countless people are thinking about it. Crazy thoughts gradually emerged in my mind. At this time, the scene is still going on. Now that Chen Ang has come to this world, he naturally needs a way to make a living. His method is naturally an engineer. Although all the knowledge on Earth combined may not allow him to build a spaceship. However, he now has strong information capabilities. What kind of information a component contains can quickly unfold in his eyes. He absorbs the knowledge of this world and the knowledge of physics and mathematics in this world. Soon, he established a firm foothold in this field and became a famous local engineer. Moreover, he even accepted that child as his disciple. That child's name was Anakin Skywalker. He is the son of good fortune for this world and for a long time to come. He is a natural affinity for the Force. He will lead the direction of the Force for a long time to come and be a pioneer of the Force. He is the son of balance, a being who can balance the forces of good and evil. As long as he stays with Anakin Skywalker, Chen Ang can successfully meet the Jedi Knight. Sure enough, one day more than 2 months later, he was still busy with machinery and maintenance, but unexpectedly, Anakin suddenly found him and said, "There are a few strange customers asking him to buy parts." Chen Ang's eyes flashed and he asked Anakin to bring the people in. Finally, he's getting in touch with the Force. The Force, in this universe, is the power of all things. The original Force creates something out of nothing, and the unity of existence and nothingness. The original Force transforms into light and darkness, light transforms into all things, and darkness transforms into existence and nothingness. This cycle is eternal. If you believe it, there will be something; if you don't believe it, there will be nothing. It's all evolution, fate, the ultimate game. The moment Kui Gangjin saw Chen Ang, he felt the vast vitality in Chen Ang's body. He was amazed. He has always believed that the Force is the embodiment of life, but in Chen Ang, he seems to have discovered another manifestation of life force. That kind of power is as vast and broad as the Force, but also full of vitality. It is a kind of peaceful and warm energy. Different from the Force, this kind of power is simpler, more refined, and more mellow and single in nature. It doesn't even have any destructive power. It is not as sharp as the Force, but it is consistent with the origin of life. Closely related. You can even use life to describe it. It seems that this kind of power is the embodiment of vitality. He even noticed that the joyful life force in Chen Ang's body surrounded him in a brilliant way, accompanying his breathing and nourishing his body. The life force and that mysterious power were mutually exclusive, express the nature of a certain aspect of life to each other. Yes, everything has the force of the Force, and the same goes for Chen Ang in this world. However, there seems to be a certain gap between that kind of power and the mysterious power in Chen Ang's body, and there is no integration with the rain. This makes him very strange. Anyway, he just can't explain it. On the other side, Chen Ang also noticed something different the moment he saw Qui Gonjin. It was a kind of qi that was integrated with heaven and earth, giving this gentle middle-aged man an extraordinarily peaceful aura. Every move he makes seems to pull the will of the world. The vast mysterious aura between heaven and earth was so strong that it was almost visible to the naked eye. In Chen Ang's perception, they converged on Qui Gonjin's body one by one, giving him vigorous vitality. Whether it is Chen Ang or Kui Gangjin, they are all seekers in the field of life. One is like a clear spring, surging with fresh vitality. It looks like a growing ancient tree, glowing with the growth of life. This exchange of breaths was even more powerful than words, making the two of them immediately put down their guard. Yes, just the induction of qi made Chen Ang and Qui Gonjin believe that the other party was not a bad person. That homozygous life energy cannot be faked. Immediately, Qui Gonjin revealed his origin. Not only did he want an engine, he wanted to seek help from Chen Ang. The dark forces of the universe have awakened, the power of the Jedi Knights has reached a low point, peace is facing threats, and the peace of the Force is about to be broken. Chen Ang knew exactly what would happen next, darkness and light, opposing and balancing each other. When darkness is strong, light will become strong accordingly. When the light is strong, even if the darkness is absolutely weak, it will become stronger and stronger. Light can never destroy darkness, and darkness can never destroy light. The two complement each other. And if you want to achieve balance, you have to have a son of balance. Anakin, the Skywalker, is the son of balance who can balance light and darkness. However, how long can this balance be maintained? Chen-Ang just smiled and said nothing. However, he did not reject Qui-Gon Jinn much. He really wants to understand what this force is, and this is also his purpose. However, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan stayed behind. Qui-Gon Jinn was naturally curious about what Chen-Ang's mysterious power was. The two of them were discussing the truth. The Force is a mysterious energy field scattered in the galaxy, and all living things produce the Force. Everything in the universe is permeated with the will of the Force. Midi-chlorians are microorganisms that are symbiotic in the lifeblood. It is the medium that connects organic life forms to the Force. Qi is the life energy derived from breathing. It mobilizes the potential of the body through appropriate breathing methods to achieve a state of coordination and unity. All things are made of Qi, and Qi generates all things, harmoniously integrated. The human body is the universe, and the universe is the human body. Qi is the basic energy of life activities and the umbilical cord between human beings and the universe. The root of the Force and inner power lies in their foundation, breathing and meditation. One is the potential developed from breathing, surging with the origin of life. The other is the mind experiencing itself, feeling everything, communicating with the powerful field of the original Force, and contacting the origin of life. Although the two come from different cultures, they trace the origin of life to the same destination. Soon, Chen-Ang discovered that there was an astonishing affinity between inner strength and the Force, allowing Chen-Ang to clearly feel the vast aura of the Force between heaven and earth. However, he felt that there was always a shallow barrier. It's like seeing flowers through the fog. Although you can see them, they are blurry and hazy. This is even more uncomfortable than watching the fire from the other side. Chen-Ang knew very well that after all, he was still missing the most critical link in cultivating the Force. If you want to communicate with the Force, you need this so-called midi-chlorian. In this universe, everyone has midi-chlorians, but Chen-Ang is not from this universe. If he is not adapted to this universe, there is no so-called midi-chlorians. This is very uncomfortable. On the other side, Qui-Gon Jinn was even more uncomfortable. Chen-Ang's explanation of Qi can be said to be easy to understand, and it couldn't be simpler. What the hell is this? Let the Qi travel through the meridians. Wandering around acupuncture points? What exactly is this meridian? What exactly are acupuncture points? His eyes darkened and he began to doubt his life. He even doubted whether he was a Jedi Master. So, if they want to understand both sides better, they can only powerful. At this moment, two high-frequency particle light blades collided together instantly. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 225. Clang, clang, clang. At this moment, with the collision of the plasma light blades, the two people fought together instantly. One was the master of the Force and the other was the master of martial arts. The two collided and reflected each other. It's a pity that this battle can't be won. The sky was dark and the earth was dark, and no matter how stunning the fight was, both sides could not feel the power of the other. At this time, countless people in the world looked at what was happening in the picture, and they were all a little surprised. The Force? Unexpectedly, there is such a magical thing in this world. The Force, the scientific world, can actually give birth to such a thing. How are the superpowers born in the scientific world so perfectly compatible? I can't figure it out. How does this thing come together? This Force, everything in the universe contains the Force? Doesn't it mean that in this universe, everyone can practice the force? Gee, if everyone could practice the force, what a terrifying force it would be. Not necessarily, it depends on the affinity of the force. The lower the affinity, the less you can practice. It's like spiritual roots. However, everyone in this world contains huge life force. As long as we find a way to mobilize this life force, I feel like it will be the same. There's something. But not everyone can mobilize this life force, just like Chen Ang. Even if he has become a martial arts master and has huge internal power, it does not mean that he can mobilize this life force. At this time, everyone was discussing. Then, the picture flashed in the screen. A battle broke out between Chen Ang and the advance troops, soldiers, bandits, and thugs. During the battle, he finally felt the original force. He briefly came into contact with the force. To be honest, this surprised Chen Ang. Because he is not force sensitive, and he does not feel the force clearly at all. He does not even have midi-chlorians. He is the force insulator of this universe. He shouldn't be exposed to the force, but he happened to be exposed to it. Even if it was just a brief contact. Then, there is only one possibility. This force may not be what everyone imagined. The relationship between the force and midi-chlorians may not be that close. He tried to feel the force, but found that although the barrier between the force and him had weakened, it was still as if there was a layer of glass. He silently by using the internal force, I found that the nature of the internal force is more pure, and even has a trace of the characteristics of the force of life. Well, the force of life and the internal force are essentially manifestations of an aspect of the origin of life. They imitate each other. Fused, naturally. Can the internal force be converted into the force of life? Chen Ang speculated. He looked at the wound in his hand. In the past, he could control the muscle groups at the nerve endings to make the wound invisible. He only needed to make the wound invisible. Close it and you'll be cured soon. But this time, he had a better choice. His internal energy began to circulate slightly, and immediately, there seemed to be an inexplicable force approaching his palm from all around. When he opened his palm again, the injury on his hand has healed. This is force healing. Chen Ang used his internal power to simulate an ability of the force. Moreover, it seems to have a good effect. If combined with his master-level medical skills that combine Chinese and Western skills, coupled with his super high control over the body, even if a limb is broken, it is possible to be reborn. This is his current ability, the power obtained by simulating the force. Countless people in the world are watching, surprised, and sighing. I'm envious. What level is this Chen Ang in? Being stretched to death is similar to the Qi training state, but now, this Chen Ang actually has this ability. This is the benefit of constantly traveling through the world. In different worlds, integrating different abilities will ultimately bring endless benefits. I'm envious, I'm so envious. I was wondering before if there was a strong person who could travel across the world, but now, I finally saw it. Envy. Chen Ang fits my imagination of time travel. I don't know if Chen Ang can travel to Jishan or the perfect plane. Haha, covering the sky. Perfect. With Chen Ang's current ability, what's the use of traveling through the past? Was he crushed to death by a ferocious beast? If I had this ability, I would like to travel to the Doluo plane, awaken my own martial soul first, then hunt all the soul beasts, get the soul bones, and then go to the Dochi world to snatch all the strange fires. Devour the strange fire. Then go to the world of 10,000 races and learn the three-body technique first. Then go to the mysterious world and get the path to God. It goes against the heavens, oh no, it goes against the heavens. Although your statement that directly defies heaven is a bit inexplicable, if so many forces can be unified together, they can indeed rise and become the overlord of one party. At this time, Countless people in the world were thinking and looking at Chen Ang with real envy. Immediately, the scene turned. Chen Ang was flying in the air on a silver plate, with Kuigang Jin facing an enemy at the same time. And this enemy is pure evil. Chen Ang can clearly feel the evil force, the dark force. This is the dark force of this world, the Dark Warrior. Yes, the Dark Warrior came to arrest them. Of course, it was not Chen Ang who was arrested. Chen Ang was only passively involved. However, he had to stand up. This battle finally ended with the retreat of the Dark Warrior. Chen Ang finally he saw the two sides of the light force and the dark force. The dark force and the light force were clearly displayed in front of him. However, he could not explore it. It was like there was an invisible glass wall blocking him. Explore. Internal force transforms into the origin of life, the origin of life derives the force of life, and the force of life guides the unified force. Chen Ang wants to explore the mystery of the force. This is only possible by tracing the inner force back to the origin of life. At the same time, with the Dark Warrior in the first battle, he also understood the importance of weapons. He had 100% of his abilities, but because of his weak weapons, he could only perform less than 60%. Therefore, getting a good weapon was very important. And now, this world could no longer help him. So, he entrusted Anakin to the care of Qui-Gon Jinn and went to the Jedi Elder's house, and he naturally left this world. Internal force is the bond of life. Chen Ang senses the hub of the force, and its slowness and stagnation directly affects Chen Ang's evolutionary path. Therefore, he wants to go to a world where martial arts is more prosperous. Only in this way can he come into contact with the essence of internal power and uncover the truth, opening up a new veil of inner strength. And this time, he is going to use more drastic methods to promote the development of martial arts, try to change, try to interfere with the evolution of martial arts. At this time, you can see that the picture flashes, the picture in the film, Chen Ang is wearing a long robe, flying on a technologically modified flying silver disc, flying above the 9 heavens. The wide sleeves make a sound. Chen Ang has an indifferent expression, and with his feathery robe and star crown, he is like an immortal coming to earth. Just like this, say it's not an exaggeration to say that he is an immortal. Others can't expose it even if they want to. And the place where Chen Ang came is the imperial capital of this world. In this world, it is still in the Song dynasty. It was probably the first year of Shaosheng Zhezong, and the current emperor is Song Zhezong Zhaosu. Late at night, Zhaosu was sitting at his desk in the bookcase, marking a volume of Ziji Tongjian with a red pen, when he suddenly heard noises coming from outside. He frowned, scolded twice, and went out. After one look, he was dumbfounded. Because he saw Chen Ang flying in the sky and the immortal with his feet in the void. Are there really immortals? Zhaosu felt incredible. No matter how unbelieving he was, he saw Chen Ang again. After Ang, he had no choice but to believe it. Next, countless people saw that Chen Ang started to show off. Using gravity, Zhaosu also stood there on the silver plate. Chen Ang pulled with gravity again, and a glass of wine appeared in front of Zhaosu. The two of them were suspended above the clouds, singing to the wine. With another wave of his hand, a dancer appeared on the clouds and swayed. Zhaosu was shocked. He was really dumbfounded. The key is that Chen Ang gave Zhaosu 2 3-phase infrasonic bombs. What else is there to say? This is the Tai Silent Divine Thunder. It can swing humans and animals within a square mile, but it will not harm the vegetation at all. There is also a secret record of public transport, which contains dozens of secret methods such as iron making, mining, smelting, salt drying, planting, and machinery. Thunder is a powerful weapon to defeat Xixia, and the secret records of Gongshu can help the Song dynasty improve its national power. Finally, Chen Ang gave Zhaosu 2 blood orchid pills. These pills can prolong life, not immortality, but they can prolong life and not grow old. Zhao Su was excited. He knew that Chen Ang must want something. However, he never expected that Chen Ang actually wanted the arbitrary power of the martial arts. What is arbitrary power? It can be said that he has monopolized power. He can just do many things directly without reporting to the court. Zhao Su instinctively wanted to refuse, but looking at the things Chen Ang gave him, he hesitated. Then, he thought about the so-called martial arts. Damn, martial arts, big tail, unruly, not thinking about the king's affairs, lawless, the court can't control it at all. Those martial arts masters are coming and going, who is the one who bothers your court? As the saying goes, chivalrous people use martial arts to break the ban. These people in the martial arts world have always been a troublesome existence in the court. Now, since Chen Ang wanted to stop this mess first, it was too late for him to laugh, so how could he refuse? Then, it was settled happily. The main thing is that after taking the elixir, Zhao Su indeed returned to his youth, looking 4 or 5 years younger. This also made him more certain that Chen Ang was an immortal. He doesn't care what Chen Ang wants that Wulin to do. Now, with the support of the immortal, whatever Chen Ang wants, he can give it to him. So, in the morning of the next day, he ignored the objections of the ministers and issued a decree, making Chen Ang the commander of the Forbidden Army in front of the palace, and let the deputy privy envoy command the Northwest Frontier Army to start provoking Xixia. On the other side, Chen Ang has entered the royal library. Just walking around here, I discovered many ancient books that have been lost for a long time. Among them, there are many experiences of predecessors in practicing qi. Many obscure epigraphic tadpole texts have been hidden deep in the deep world because no one has translated them. There are many palaces filled with gold and stone antiques, and there are also vast collections of books in the library. In order to compile imperial letters and imperial collections of emperors of all dynasties, Aoki collected countless volumes of books from all over the world. It can be said that 80% of the world's knowledge is hidden in Aoki. Many orphan and ancient copies were abandoned in palaces to eat ashes because of their obscure writing. Chen Ang has been traveling in the sea of books these days. He is really at ease and at ease. He is almost crazy with joy. He opened many abandoned bookshelves and dried the scrolls inside one by one. As for Zhao Su, hey, whatever the immortal wants to do, then just do it. Can I still please the immortal? Therefore, Zhao Su ordered many learned people from the Hanlin Academy and Longdig to sort out the collection of books. The so-called practice among the royal family is good because the royal family controls the vast majority of the collection of books. If you want to practice martial arts, go to this royal library and find nothing. Of course, this must be a ruling royal family, not a vassal royal family. Just like the 6 countries in the eternal world, that kind of royal family is different from the royal family in the world where Chen Ang lives. On the other side, the former Sija Forbidden Army was also established. At this time, he is undergoing rigorous training and study. Chen Ang even brought 80% of the evolution potions and personally created a magical skill for these forbidden troops. This magical skill is inspired by the science and technology in the Star Wars world, and uses evolutionary potions to transform the blood throughout the body's Suanwei true skill. And Chen Ang also impressed many ministers because of his vast knowledge. Let him become the Grand Governor of Dragon and Tiger. Even those old scholars had to call Chen Ang educated from ancient times to the present. As the saying goes, the dragon and the tiger are the governors, and Chen is the scholar who knows everything from ancient times to the present. As Chen Ang's fame grew, it was not only spread among the ministers, but also spread throughout Bianliang and even all over the world. Regarding Chen Ang as a contemporary great scholar, even Mr. Dongpo, who was demoted to the border, had to sigh with emotion and praise him for dominating 1/3 of the world. Now, Chen Ang's reputation became even greater. The whole world praises the 3-point bachelor. As Chen Ang continued to compile ancient books, annotate them, and translate them, pieces of ancient articles were rediscovered. The lost classics of various schools of thought have been rediscovered. Even half of the remaining volume of the Book of Music among the 6 classics of Confucius was produced by Chen Ang. At this time, the world was shaken, and countless students rushed to Bianliang. Even some university scholars did not hesitate to abandon their official positions, just to come and see this music classic. However, these are not important to Chen Ang. What he has to do is to take all this knowledge into himself. He is here to learn, he is here to improve himself. Everything else is just a side detail. Of course, his purpose in doing all of this is actually to embrace all rivers and gather everything together. In the end, what he wants to create is a more heaven-defying magical skill, so that his internal power can be more refined, and even reach the point of peering into the essence. And if you want to create this magical skill, you have to read poetry and books. At this moment, Chen Ang saw a person. He was a direct bachelor of Longtag. His name is Huang Shanqi. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 226. Who is this Huang Shang? Is it important? Judging from Chen Ang's reaction, it should be quite important. Perhaps, in the future, he should be able to grow into a big shot. No matter how big a person is, can he surpass Tugukaiofei? Alas, do you think there is a possibility that this Huang Shang is the future Tugukaiubai? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Have you forgotten what Tugukaiofei is like? When he was weak, he wielded a sharp sword and conquered the world. When he was weak, he was about 20 years old. This Huang Shang is already over 20 years old. Obviously, this Huang Shang cannot be alone and seek defeat. Huang Shang, you may not know it, but we know very well that this Huang Shang can only be said to be awesome. Awesome? How awesome can it be? Hurry up and tell his story. Haha, you will know as you read on, how awesome this Huang Shang is. I can't describe it verbally. I think Chen Ang should introduce it. At this time, countless people were talking and discussing, looking at the little civil servant Huang Shang in the picture. It can be seen that in the picture, Chen Ang looked at Huang Shang and said lightly, "Follow me." Huang Shang stood up in a hurry, walked quickly to Chen Ang, and subconsciously asked, "Bachelor, is there a problem with the school team of the classics department, or practicing qi? Governance? Gods and ghosts? Is there something strange about the department of monsters?" Chen Ang said calmly, "Come with me to see the official. I have something important to entrust you with." As he said that, he glanced at Huang Shang again and said slowly, "The way of heaven is to make up for the deficiency when there is more than enough damage. This is why the virtual is better than the real, and the deficiency is more than enough. Its meaning is profound, its reasoning is profound, its interest is profound, the images of heaven and earth, the strong relationship between yin and yang, the expression of the changes of 3, 7, 3, and the signs of life and death. You studied hard day and night, and were ordered to proofread the Wanjiao Taoist canon, and you have already understood the true meaning of the Taoist Sutra. When I take a quick look at you, your internal and external skills are already quite strong, but your qi is too thick and dense, and you are broad and broad, but lack precision. I should be thinking about the classic, and it will be completed within 10 years. In the future, he will be called the Master of Taoism. A generational martial arts master. Huang Shang's face was confused, and he just felt confused. He cupped his hands and said Xiaoguan was confused when he heard this. Sometimes he does feel that there is wind in his sides and his body is light and thin, but Xiaoguan only knows some superficial things. He has never practiced tuna kung fu, so how can he be called a martial arts master? Chen Ang said with a smile. The Yellow Emperor swam to the north of Kishui River, climbed to the Kunlun Hill and looked south, returned and left behind his mysterious pearl. It makes people know how to ask for it, but it cannot be found. It makes people know how to ask for it, but it cannot be found. It makes people want to ask for it, but it cannot be found. It makes Xiang Wang gets it? Huang De said, what's strange, can Xiang Ziu be obtained? Hearing this, Huang Shang thought about it carefully. This was an allusion in the Nanhua Sutra of Heaven and Earth, and he naturally knew it very well. The most natural way can only be to combine qi with qi, in order to achieve unity in existence and non-existence, and the interplay of virtuality and reality. Yu De Tong. What does Chen Ang mean? At this time, listen, Chen Ang said again, you have read the Wanchao Taoist canon, and you have already understood the Taoism in your heart. When your wisdom is enlightened, you will naturally master the most profound knowledge in the world. As for the principles of martial arts, you must know that the most profound principles in martial arts are not found in the secret books of Jianghu, but in the Taoism and Buddhism of the world. Patriarch Bodhidharma, by reciting Buddhist sutras, knows peerless martial arts. Xiao Aozai read Nanhua Sutra and developed Xiao Ao's unique knowledge. Since ancient times, strange people have emerged in endlessly. Saints and sages are self-taught. This worldly principle is hidden between heaven and earth and has been prepared by sages. You are not ignorant of martial arts, but you have a direct access to the avenue of martial arts, gaining its spirit and forgetting its form. After a long time, he sighed, I practiced the art of breathing and breathing by myself, and I felt light and strong. With one leap, I was 3 feet high. When I saw the forbidden armies drill, even the masters in the palace could see it. He is a person with 3 points of reality and reality, but he doesn't realize that he already has a lot of kung fu. He murmured, then shook his head and smiled bitterly. It's a pity that this is not my ambition. I just want to write a book and pass on the Taoism. Chen Ang suddenly said, do you think that the way of martial arts is vulgar and reckless, Huang? Shang pursed his lips, neither admitting nor denying, but sighed, killing evildoers with a knife is not what a gentleman does. I asked you to proofread ancient texts because I wanted you to polish your knowledge, refine your Taoism, learn from the ancient sages, and abandon your desire for fame and wealth. I didn't expect that you had an indifferent nature, but you lost your enterprising spirit. Chen Ang sighed. However, he also knew why Huang Shang was like this. Because the country was like this, and the Song dynasty was like this. In the Song dynasty, the status of civilian officials was much stronger than that of military attaches. Military attaches were really unpopular, except for the Tai, except for captains. The rank is generally lower than that of civilian officials. The reason why the emperors of the Song dynasty valued literature over military affairs was mainly due to the circumstances of the founding of the country at that time. Song Taizhi Zhao Kuangyan originally came from the army as a soldier. He knew well that when military attaches became strong, the country would easily become unstable. Then, they crazily reused civil servants. It can be said that in the Song dynasty, it was really the world of civil servants. As long as you were reading and literate, you could make a name for yourself in this dynasty. On the contrary, if you were a military attaché. Haha, what about Lu Buletin, Guan Yu? Exiled to the Song dynasty, Tisk, peerless warrior? Laughing to death. During this period, no one praised Guan Yu at all. In several dynasties, some people still praised Guan Yu as a martial saint. By the Song dynasty, the only people who praised Guan Yu were the for loyalty and unparalleled for it's a word. But when the Song dynasty was in turmoil, well, the emperor of the Song dynasty began to miss Guan Yu again, and even named Guan Yu why he was Zonghui Gong, Wuan King, and so on. So, we all know what the Song dynasty was like. As for Huang Shang, as a civil servant of the Song dynasty, he naturally looked down on warriors and military officers. Even if he had strength and a monstrous appearance, he just sighed and thought it was not important. He even felt that if he was contaminated by some warriors, using the term martial artist on him is a kind of derogation for him. Therefore, he really has no enterprising spirit in martial arts, and has lost the essence of killing. And Chen Ang also knows Huang Shang's future situation very well. In the future, Emperor Huizong only believed in Taoism, so in the winter of 1120, he ordered the 76-year-old Huang Shang to send troops to exterminate the Ming cult. Unexpectedly, there were many martial arts masters among the Ming cult believers, and the believers started fighting. Everyone worked hard, unlike the imperial officers and soldiers who were so greedy for life and fearful of death. After several battles, the officers and soldiers suffered defeats one after another. Huang Shang was not angry, so he personally challenged the masters of Mingjiao and killed several guards in one breath. Teach Dharma King and the Messenger of Light, who knew that some of the people he killed were disciples of famous martial arts sects, so their uncles, brothers, sisters, aunts, and aunts, master's godfather, and master's godmother, all at once, they invited many good players from other sects to come and embarrass him, scolding him for not following the rules of the martial arts. But Huang Shang was an official, not a martial artist. Zongren, what the hell does he know about the rules of the world? Then they started to quarrel. At the end of the quarrel, they started to fight again. As a result, Huang Shang's martial arts was weird and strange. No one had seen it before, and he was beaten again on the spot. A few died. But in the end, they were still outnumbered and injured, so they tried their best to escape. Those people were not popular, so they killed all his parents, wives, and children, and the whole family was completely wiped out. Finally, Huang Chang was involved in the disputes in the martial arts world. He kept those people's tricks in mind, and thought hard about how to crack them. Finally, he completely cracked those people's tricks. He was naturally happy, but thinking about what if those people would do it again. When they were swarmed, he really might not be able to defeat them. So, he started looking for them one by one. He traveled all over the world, all over the country, but those enemies seemed to have disappeared. Finally, he found an enemy, a woman. When she started fighting with him, she was only 16 or 17 years old, but when she saw her again, she was already an old woman in her 60s. Yes, he was studying in the mountains, thinking about nothing, doing nothing, just studying, and he wanted revenge. As a result, more than 40 years have passed in a blink of an eye. That year, he was 120 years old. After all, the Huang Shang of today is not the Huang Shang of the future who will bear a blood feud. If he hadn't been burdened with a blood feud, he wouldn't have created the 9 Yin Manual. If there was no hatred, maybe what he created would be Taoist treasures such as the Essentials of the Golden Pill, the Essentials of Life and the Heart Seal Sutra. It's a pity that this is the world of martial arts after all, not the world of fairy tales. If Huang Shang were to change the world, maybe he would actually create a technique for cultivating immortals. But that's obviously not the case. Killing is the first purpose of martial arts, and fighting for life is the first essence of martial arts. The way of martial arts lies in fighting. Compete with heaven for destiny, compete with earth for strength, compete with others for victory, win the battle and surpass yourself. Different from the indifferent art of inner alchemy, the way of seeking Taoism in martial arts is more intense and direct. In the battle, one transcends oneself. And the lofty path of seeking Tao is just like this. If you are not careful, you will be shattered into pieces. Only the way of martial arts and the spirit of struggle for all things are the most suitable for him and the path to progress the fastest. Although fighting with others is not his original intention, Fighting with himself is in line with his thoughts. Every moment to transcend oneself, to pursue, to explore, to compete with God. Although Huangshang's indifferent spirit is worthy of praise, it is not in line with Chen Ang's general trend of promoting the development of martial arts. It also cannot help the accumulation of martial arts wisdom. Fortunately, Huangshang is in the imperial court, and his wealth and life are tied to the honor and disgrace of the Song dynasty. His identification with the imperial court was very high. When the conflict between the imperial court and the martial arts becomes stronger and the conflict intensifies, he will inevitably be unable to help himself. He cannot escape the reputation of the imperial eagle dog. And it's still the kind of court eagle dog that scares the world. By then, he will definitely be the devil who bullies the martial arts world. A traitorous minister who has done many evil deeds. Only by pushing the martial arts to the point of no return will heroes appear who can turn the tide. At that time, the general trend of the world will be bright and prosperous, marvelous achievements and extraordinary arts will emerge one after another, and all the masters will be like crucian carp crossing the river. This time, he, Chen Ang, will be a devil, a villain who will stir up trouble in the world. At this time, countless people in the world looked at this scene, and they were all speechless. Good guy, no wonder Chen Ang said he wanted to promote the general trend, co-authoring, is this what he meant? The villain of the world, the devil of the world, tisk, this Chen Ang really dares to think. This Chen Ang is really cowhide, but I have to say that this Chen Ang has some ideas. Tisk, this is the general trend of the world, but I have to say that Chen Ang has an idea. Becoming the devil of the world and the public enemy of the martial arts people will indeed promote the general trend of martial arts. It's not just about martial arts. In fact, it's the same in all the worlds. Just like in the world of all races, if it weren't for the invasion of foreign enemies, I'm afraid the human race would still be in civil war. Fear death? Haha, given Chen Ang's current situation, who can do it better than him? There is no one at all. Indeed, Chen Ang's current strength is indeed unparalleled. He can know any technique at a glance, and he can learn any martial arts in just one fight. Just like Chen Ang, he can easily crush the martial arts world. Gee, it seems that this world will be ruined by Chen Ang in the future. By the way, is it possible that the world will directly change from the era of martial arts to the era of immortal martial arts? Is it possible? How many people like Huangshang can drive the general trend? Besides, the limitations of the world, the level of the 3.9 world is only that high, no matter how much you push it, it will be useless. Yes, the world is not about becoming stronger, it is about personality. It's not necessarily true, and it's not certain. Isn't it because one person became stronger and then forcibly raised the world's heights when the world became stronger? How can the world be so closely related to people? Besides, even if it is really closely related to people, as people become stronger, the world will also become stronger. However, in the world of Xiangxia, there are spiritual stones, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and legendary spiritual fruits and elixirs, but in this world have it? Without these things, how can one become stronger, how can one break through the shackles of the world and sublimate? Indeed, this alone is an insurmountable gap. Not necessarily, isn't there Chen Ang? Can't Chen Ang travel across the world? If you throw those blood orchids into this world, plant them, and then let those animals eat them, wouldn't you be cultivating monsters? Wouldn't it be better to kill those monster beasts, eat their flesh, and rely on the blood essence in their bodies to practice? Tisk, you have an idea. If the world improves, I won't even watch it without you. Spread on your back. How can it be that simple? Is the sublimation of the world really just talk? However, Chen Ang really has the possibility to sublimate the world. He randomly goes to a fairy world, steals a few spiritual stones, and then throws them into this world. Maybe, in the near future, the world will be sublimated. Chen Ang can definitely do it. After all, he can travel across the world. Moreover, the flying saucer he made in the planet world can operate here. It seems that the rules of the world are very different, so this should be feasible. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 227. At this time, countless people in all heavens and worlds once again discussed the issue of world sublimation. But obviously, before seeing the exact answer, everyone knows that what they are discussing is only a possibility after all. Whether the world can be sublimated depends on what others do. At this time, countless people looked at the Great Dao Golden List again, but what they saw in the picture was that Chen Ang and Huang Shang had arrived outside Jixian Tower. This is the place where Zhao Su likes to receive foreign ministers. Although in the Song dynasty, the emperor and the scholar bureaucrats ruled the world together, and the status of scholars and civil servants was lofty, and some veterans could even be equal to the emperor, Huang Shang still did not dare to neglect, knowing that he was coming to see the officials, so he followed Chen Ang respectfully went in. After all, he was not a high official, nor did he have the reputation of a great Confucian, so naturally he did not dare to put on airs in front of the emperor. As for Chen Ang, he was not so reserved and just strode in. At this time, Zhao Su was sitting alone in front of the table. There were 2 chairs in front of him. Obviously, he had already waiting for Chen Ang and Huang Shang. Chen Ang sat down directly, and Huang Shang hesitated and sat down as well. Huang Shang took a peek at the book Zhao Su was looking at, but what he saw was that there seemed to be 2 big characters "History of the Song Dynasty" written on the cover. Just seeing these 2 words made him startled. Good fellow, who dares to revise the history of this dynasty? What a courage! However, he just sat aside and said nothing, not saying a word. At this time, it was seen that Zhao Su's face was gloomy. Looking at Song Shi, he was holding back something, but in the end, he was really unable to bear it. He became furious. Bo Yan Tuochuo. Kublai Khan. You are so bold. Immediately, he looked at Chen Ang with excitement and said excitedly, Master, is this the destiny of this dynasty? Hearing this, Huang Shang seemed to understand something. Could this history of the Song dynasty be given to the officials by scholar Chen? What does it say? Who is Bo Yan Tuochuo? Then who is Kublai Khan? There are thousands of thoughts in his mind. This dynasty's destiny? What destiny? At this time, 19, Chen Ang did not speak, just listened. Zhao Su gritted his teeth, his eyes were cold, and that Tong Guan, Cai Zheng. And that useless Zhao Ji. Jing Kang's shame. How can I endure it? This destiny. However, before Zhao Su could finish his words, Chen Ang said lightly, how can destiny be determined? Your Majesty, you have lost your composure. Only then did Zhao Su come back to his senses, and his face regained its calmness, but he was still gloomy. With a sullen face, he was silent for a long time before he said, I will grant everything you ask for. I only want one thing for you. Chen Ang raised his eyelids, nodded and said, Your Majesty, please speak. Zhao Su solemnly asked. Said, the number of days is uncertain, the destiny can be changed. This seemed like a rhetorical question, but also seemed like an affirmation. Before Chen Ang could answer, he said again, if you can, if you have anything to do, just do it. I will do it, I fully support it, but the ministers still have doubts about the ban on martial arts, and I still need my mediation. I wonder if the real person can personally convince those stubborn ones. Chen Ang smiled and said, is there anyone in particular that your Majesty wants to kill? Zhao Su was stunned for a moment, then realized what he was doing. He glanced at Huang Shang, who was feeling uncomfortable, and sneered, I think Cai Shangshu is very good. He is indeed a loyal and honest official with clean sleeves. He almost gritted his teeth. Say these two words. Yes, that history of the Song dynasty was given to Zhao Su by Chen Ang. As a time traveler, he naturally knew the story of the Song dynasty, so he gave this history of the Song dynasty to Zhao Su. The history of the Song dynasty includes the deeds of all famous and even unknown figures throughout the Song dynasty. This also includes when he, the emperor of the Song dynasty, Song Zhezong Zhao Su, died and what he did in his life. Including the humiliation of Jingkong in the future, and even Kublai Khan's destruction of the Song dynasty in the future. The most important thing is that the dynasty Cai Jing and Na Tongguan were both members of the current dynasty. That Tongguan was a eunuch and was called one of the 6 thieves. And Cai Jing is also one of the 6 thieves. These two people are almost the top figures of the 6 thieves. Corruption is a mess, and the country is in a state of chaos. Tongguan, clever and charming. When he was first appointed as a worship official, he searched for calligraphy and paintings for Huizong in Hangzhou. Help Cai Jing become prime minister. Cai Jing recommended him to be the supervisor of the Northwest Army and head of the Privy Council. He had been in charge of the military for 20 years and had power both internally and externally. At that time, Cai Jing was called Gongxiang and Cai Jing was called Xiangxiang. In the 4th year of Suan He, the attack on the Liao dynasty failed. The begging gold soldiers replaced Yanjing, and returned with millions of gold coins to redeem Yanjing and other empty cities, boasting of their recovery. As for Cai Jing, if anyone talks about this person, he must be the treacherous minister of the ages. Cai Jing is still just a minister now. In the future, Cai Jing will become the prime minister. Of course, it is also indispensable for him to play both sides and take various positions. Finally, after becoming prime minister, he wanted to keep this position for a long time, so he began to please the then Song Huizong, his younger brother, Song Huizong Zhaoji. Yes, Zhao Su died early. He originally had a son. Unfortunately, his son also died young. Therefore, when he died, he had no heirs. After his death, Song Huizong Zhaoji was made emperor. Zhaoji had never been trained as an emperor, nor had he been a prince, so he naturally had no ability to govern the country. Being an emperor is not like being an emperor. As for Cai Jing, he tried to please Zhaoji in every way, but Zhaoji couldn't find him. Anyway, whatever Zhaoji wants, Cai Jing will give it to him. He also bribed all the eunuchs, maids, guards, etc. around Zhaoji and made them his own. It's not that Cai Jing didn't do practical things, but compared to the disaster Cai Jing brought to the people, it was far from enough. While collecting rare treasures for Zhaoji, he squandered the people's property, robbed them skillfully, and often took human life seriously. He built large-scale construction projects every year and levied no less than 400,000 people on the labor force. It is simply a disaster for the country and the people. When he was in power, it could be said that he brought the Song dynasty's regime to the brink of collapse. The declining national power of the Song dynasty is inseparable from Cai Jing. During the Song dynasty, there was a folk song that said, "If you hit the bucket, Tongguan, and throw the vegetables, Cai Jing, it will be a good world on earth." These two people can be said to be one of the culprits that indirectly led to the demise of the Song dynasty. In short, during this period, these two guys are the biggest cancer. The person Zhao Su wants to kill the most right now is naturally Cai Jing. So, next, Zhao Su directly agreed to the ban on military force, and Chen Ang took full command of the army and became the governor. As for the deputy capital commander, under Chen Ang's recommendation, Huang Shang was directly appointed. Then, Zhao Su talked about the current trend. He who has read the history of the Song dynasty naturally knows that there is a so-called Zoroastrian cult and a so-called Ming cult. The Zoroastrian cult was established in western Zhejiang and called itself the Ming cult. It had the leader Fang La, and the religious kings Wanjie, Den Yuanzhu, Shibao, and Sixing Fang were all fanatics who ruled in one place. The Mingjiao claimed to be a martial arts sect, and developed followers, spread Manichaean teachings, and gathered people to commit illegal acts. Envoys such as Li Tianrun, Pang Wanchun, Lu Xinang, and Fang Ji contacted members of various religions and practiced martial arts day and night in the dangerous valley of the Muzhu headquarters. Evil intentions. And the Sija forbidden army that Cheng'an wants to build is just for this. Clear the green forest, clear the martial arts forest. Naturally, these monsters and demons must be cleaned up by the Sija forbidden army. And Zixia has also begun to take action. At that time, with the power of victory, all Cheng'an's words will really stand up in the court. At that time, all the power will really be in the hands of Zhao Su, who will become the real emperor. As for Cheng'an, what is the most powerful thing? It would be more or less the same if it were another person, but how could a fairy like Cheng'an covet something that was not as good as the country? Zhao Su saw this clearly. Therefore, he was relieved. Then, next, everyone saw that after Cheng'an left, he went directly to Cai Shangshu Cai Jing's mansion and slapped Cai Jing to death. There was great shock in the court. Then the investigation result of the experts from Aoki was that Cai Shangshu's sternum was completely broken and he died from the beggar gang's dragon subduing palm. Zhao Su was furious and ordered the Imperial Guard to investigate, and then proposed the 36th article of the Prohibition on Martial Arts. As soon as the ban on martial arts came out, the court naturally divided into two groups and started to quarrel. But this is still a dispute in the court after all, and very little is known about it in the Jianghu. All of this is, of course, a game, done by Cheng'an. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw that Cheng'an finally led the troops and began to take action. First, he went to exterminate Fang La. After the battle, Cheng'an even learned Fang La's great shift of the universe. However, he didn't wipe them all out. He also left a way for these guys to survive, so that they could lick their wounds in secret, hide, and continue to have the opportunity to resist him, the big devil. After that, Long Xiongui took action again and eliminated a large number of martial arts people. Wang Jiazhuang, Taihang, robbed passers-by, caused nuisance to the local area, and committed dozens of murders in the past 30 years. Kill them directly. Of course, some small fish and shrimps escaped. Of course, this was Cheng'an's intention. And these people went to the apricot forest and asked Qiaofeng to make the decision. Qiaofeng's name was heard all over the world. Countless people were also impressed by Qiaofeng's chivalrous heart. It's no problem to find Qiaofeng. It was in this apricot forest that the man finally told the story of the recent events in the court. Master Cai Jingke, the Minister of Household Affairs, was struck to death by someone using the dragon subduing palm at home. The emperor was furious and established the Suwu Hall to restrain the Jianghu forces. The governor of Suwu Hall, Cheng'an, was cruel and cold-blooded. He even issued the 36th article of the Suwu order to restrain the northern martial arts with severe punishments. If you don't obey even a little bit, the whole family will be slaughtered. At this time, Cheng'an and Huangshang were sitting in the inn drinking tea. Huangshang was still a little worried. But Cheng'an's words made him relieved. It's not just about killing everyone, it's not about killing everyone. At least. Cheng'an said, don't pay attention to those rotten scholars. As for those who escaped, that doesn't matter. Now, Huangshang felt a little strange. As the saying goes, if the root is not removed, the spring breeze will grow again. However, Cheng'an, it is better to take those orphans whose parents have died and have no blood debts back to the Forbidden Martial Arts Hall, teach them martial arts, and train them in a military system. The organization is called the Yulin Army to prepare for the two guards of the dragon, the tiger and the tiger. At this time, Huangshang breathed a sigh of relief. He also has compassion. No one likes killing. especially those orphans. In other places, the forbidden martial arts hall will take action, and the 6 gates he founded will also be arrested in various places. And now, the most important thing, Chen Ang looked at Huang Shang and said with a smile, the most important thing now is to investigate the shocking murder case of Mr. Cai who died from the beggar gang's dragon subduing palm. Now the court is boiling with resentment, and everyone is the gang of beggars must be severely punished. Huang Shang was speechless. He heard with his own ears who asked the emperor who he wanted to kill the most. He even saw with his own eyes that Chen Ang killed Cai Jing with a powerful and heavy palm. However, he still sipped it. He pursed his lips and sighed. On the day Cai Shangsha died, 703 Chiao Feng, the leader of the beggar clan, was on the battlefield of Liao and Song dynasties. Countless soldiers can testify. Moreover, there are hundreds of thousands of members of the beggar clan, and there is no concrete evidence, lest they be dissatisfied. Evidence. Chen Ang smiled and said calmly, apart from the beggar gang, are there any other gangs in the world who know how to subdue the dragon palm? If it wasn't done by the beggar gang, who else could have done it? As for Chiao Feng, the leader of the beggar clan? Apart from him, is there no one else who knows how to subdue the dragon palm? I think it's possible for the beggar clan's elders to do so. Huang Shang opened his mouth. He admired Chen Ang's ability to tell lies. It was as if Cai Jing was really killed by the beggar gang. But I'm afraid the beggar's gang, Huang Shang hesitated. The beggar gang is powerful. Too big. Hundreds of thousands of disciples. However, at this time, Chen Ang laughed and said there are hundreds of thousands of beggar gangs. This is the evidence of it. Hundreds of thousands of people are not engaged in production, but make a living by begging and extorting property. They cannot give it to the Song dynasty providing taxes. Such a large black power group, it has long been a thorn in the hearts of all the ministers in the court. As for the evidence, it is unnecessary. We are the government, and our words are evidence. If the beggar gang does not give us an explanation, it will be his own death. The Song dynasty court will not let it go. Huang Shang took a deep breath. He seemed to understand what Chen Ang wanted to do. But, he still said, but Chiao Feng has done a great job for the country and the people, fighting against the Liao and Xia people, and there are many people in the beggar gang. To defend the country and go to the dead, such a loyal person can only make people feel chilling. Chen Ang smiled and said calmly, there are 2 factions of the beggar clan, clean clothes and dirty clothes. We must clearly distinguish who is a friend and who is an enemy. There are mostly people from the lower classes in the dirty clothes sect, and they are powerful in numbers, but most of them are poor people looking for food. Most of them are like this in the beggar gang, which has hundreds of thousands of people. They join the beggar gang just to find someone to rely on to survive. Such people are friends of the imperial court. Because the imperial court can also become their support. Chiao Feng and several elders of the beggar clan are like this. They are loyal to the emperor and patriotic, enough to be Pan Ping of the Song dynasty, and they are suitable for immigrants. But the Jing-ai sect is different. They have practiced martial arts for generations and are the main force in the middle and upper levels of the beggar clan. They are usually powerful locals. They use the beggar clan as a hub to protect themselves. Although they are called members of the beggar clan, they are actually powerful landlords and do many illegal things. If they understand the poverty of the lower class of the beggar clan, it will be a serious concern for the imperial court. Therefore, the imperial court supports the dirty clothes faction and fights against them, creating a conflict between the 2 factions. Pure clothes sect, dirty clothes sect. Huang Shang suddenly understood. At this time, Chen Ang stood up, took the horse, and said lightly, now, it is also time to go to the beggar clan conference. That was a prosperous martial arts world. Apricot Forest. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 228. At this time, as the story in the Dao Golden List happened, countless people in the world were looking at the Dao Golden List, wondering how Chang'an stirred up trouble. Although at this time, Chang'an has caused chaos in the world, but it seems that it is not completely chaotic yet. Countless people were thinking, and they could see in the picture. Chang'an was leading dozens of riders, walking lightly, all the way south. Chasing a beggar clan disciple all the way to the apricot grove. However, Chang'an seemed more like he wanted to let the beggar clan disciple go. The beggar clan disciple took the small road, while he rode on the main road. Finally, Chang'an stood on the high hill and saw the apricot forest in front of him. At this time, the beggar gang was vaguely divided into two factions, confronting each other. Qiao Feng's body is stained with blood and his linen clothes are majestic and heroic. Just by looking at him, he knew he was a great hero and a good man. At this moment, Qiao Feng saw Chang'an. His green robe made a rustling sound, and his hair was fluttering in the wind. He certainly had an air of magnanimity, Yuan Ting Yuji. At this time, Qiao Feng narrowed his eyes, looked at Chang'an, immediately clasped his fists, and said loudly, "Who are you? Come to my gathering place of the beggar clan?" Why, as soon as he finished speaking, everyone present was shocked. Look at Chang'an. Chang'an was not afraid of the stage. He smiled slightly and said calmly, "I'm from the Suwu Hall of the Great Song Dynasty. Chang'an, the commander-in-chief of the Forbidden Army. I've met gang leader Qiao." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone present was in an uproar. Who is Chang'an? That was like thunder. He is simply a murderer, the court's lackey, eagle dog. Unexpectedly, he actually came to this apricot forest? What do you want? Is it possible that the imperial court is going to take action against the beggar gang? They thought about it, and for a while, everyone was slightly resistant and opposed. These martial arts people. On the one hand, he can't stand the constraints of the court's laws and likes to be in the world. But on the other hand, he is loyal and patriotic. For a time, most of the people didn't know how to face Chang'an, the commander of the Forbidden Army. Fortunately, the beggar gang often cooperated with the court. Previously, Qiao Feng had killed many enemy soldiers on the battlefield. He immediately said, "Since you are a brother of the Forbidden Army, you might as well come down. Today, the martial arts heroes will witness my life experience, Qiao. It is time for the court to witness my Qiao's resignation as the leader of the beggar clan." Chang'an looked at him. Qiao Feng smiled slightly. He naturally knew what was going on with Qiao Feng. Qiao Feng, the leader of the beggar clan, was framed and found out to be a kitten, forcing Qiao Feng to resign as leader. And now, this is the time. When they saw each other, Qiao Feng and Chang'an finished talking, then turned around, looked at everyone, and said with a smile, "Qiao and all of you brothers have a good relationship. We drink wine and eat meat, and fight against the Liao dynasty together. You are willing to recognize me as your brother. Qiao will bear in mind in my heart, now that my life experience is unknown, I cannot hold the position of leader of the beggar clan no matter what. I only hope that all brothers can get rid of the barriers after Qiao leaves. The beggar clan is the best gang in the world, with great prestige. The brothers among you should also be as close as one family, remember not to let outsiders laugh at you." After saying this, all the beggar clan disciples looked ashamed. Seeing Qiao Feng handing the dog-beating stick technique to the elder Chuan Gong and about to leave, some of the beggar clan disciples began to persuade them to stay. They really recognized Qiao Feng as the gang leader. There was no other way, Qiao Feng's loyalty came first, and even if he left, he also thought about the disciples in the gang. How can you not admire such a person? The word Xia is almost engraved in his bones. Great passion, nothing more than this. Tisk. At this time, Chang'an finally spoke. He looked at the disciples of the beggar clan and said calmly, since Master Chiao has resigned as the leader of the beggar clan, I would like to ask you all to discuss a charter as soon as possible. Mr. Cai Jingke, the secretary of the Ministry of Household Affairs, was hacked to death at home with the dragon subduing palm. The beggar clan must give an explanation to the court for this matter. As soon as these words came out, all the beggar clan disciples present looked at him angrily. Only Elder Su pondered for a moment and then said, that's right. This gang can't be left without a master for a day. After Chiao Feng leaves, the gang still needs someone to make decisions on major issues. It's urgent, so we can be cleared. Chen Ang said slowly and calmly, you take your time to choose your gang leader. No matter who it is, you have to go to the 6 gates with me to give an explanation. However, as soon as these words came out, the disciples of the beggar clan immediately exploded. Go to 6 doors? Although I don't know what 6 doors are, I can probably understand. This thing is simply a shame. Immediately, some people were dissatisfied and said, why does the imperial court arrest our gang leader? Chen Ang glanced at the man and said calmly, it's not that we are arresting your gang leader. It's just that Mr. Cai is dead. You have to give an explanation to the 6 doors. Is it possible that a high-ranking member of the imperial court died in such an unknown way? Upon hearing this, everyone felt that this was a good statement. He just wants to reveal the gang leader, which he absolutely refuses to do. I heard Elder Su say the leader of our gang has not yet been decided. Please bear with me for this matter. I don't care, it's just that you can't afford to wait in court. Elder Su hesitated and said, our gang is in chaos. 3 months may not be enough. Elder Su, are you trying to bargain with me? Chen Ang suddenly sneered. Elder Su immediately panicked, don't dare. When all the beggar clan disciples saw Elder Su's appearance, they thought of Chiao Feng's heroism. Immediately, they all felt uncomfortable. Seeing Chen Ang like this. Finally, some of them couldn't stand it anymore, and that person stepped forward, shaking the folding fan. He said, no, you can practice this dragon subduing palm, and I can practice it too, but there's no way to explain it. Look at this move of mine, is it the dragon subduing palm? The man smiled, then suddenly stepped forward, and struck an apricot tree with his palms in a row. In an instant, the apricot tree shook like chaff, and the leaves rustled. It was originally lush and leafy, but was shaken down 8 levels. The power of this palm was so profound. Chen Ang glanced at it. Of course he knew who this person was. Bao was different. He was a lackey of the Murong family. Before, because of several green forests of the Murong family, their power has been uprooted, and they are in dire straits. Now that they are standing up, I think it is themselves find something uncomfortable. Chen Ang laughed, it was really a smile. When Bao Buobu saw Chen Ang smile, he frowned and immediately said mockingly, did my palm hit you on an itchy spot? Why are you laughing? He. Chen Ang smiled coldly, I'm laughing. I finally have a way to close the case. It turns out that it's the remnant of the Murong family. Since you said you can subdue the dragon palm, what are you waiting for? The real culprit is you. As soon as these words came out, the faces of everyone present changed. Countless people in all the worlds couldn't help but laugh. Phew, ha 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 ha, this Chen Ang really vividly portrays the role of a court eagle dog and a court lackey. It made me laugh so hard. Damn it, I have never seen any son of fortune act out the imperial court's behavior so closely. Is there a possibility that it wasn't staged? Ha ha ha, it's not staged, it's real. Gee, what on earth is Chen Ang going to do? Do this? The dead remnant of the Murong family? What's going on with the Murong family? It's nothing more than some Xianbei species. Tisk, this Chen Ang really knows how to confuse right and wrong and made me laugh. In the past, the son of destiny was slandered by the villain, but now, we finally see the son of destiny taking this path. Laugh to death, take the villain's path, and leave the villain with no way to go. Chen Ang is really suitable to be a villain. Good guy, he has figured out the face of this imperial eagle dog. At this time, countless people laughed and joked. At the same time, countless people looked at the Dao gold list again. But what they saw in the picture, along with Chen Ang's words, countless people looked surprised. And the two members of the Murong family, the faces of the generals, Azu, Abai, and even Wanjie's three daughters were all flushed with anxiety. What's going on with the Murong family? They know it very well. They want to restore the country, but only in private. They are sneaky and cannot be defeated. Come on. Bao Butong wants to give himself a bad mouth. He never thought that for a moment, he would offend Chen Ang, a stupid manager who confuses right and wrong. It seems that this upright man has done many things to frame people, confiscate homes, and exterminate clans. Otherwise, why would you be so skilled? At this time, a monk stood up, clasped his hands together, and spoke righteously. The donor is serious. Although this Taoist man has strong palms, he can't do it. It is incomparable to the majesty of the dragon subduing palm. Sir, please think again. Oh? Does the master mean that it was someone from the beggar clan who did it? Chen Ang asked with a smile. The monk hurriedly explained the poor monk didn't mean this. Everyone in the beggar clan understands the righteousness of their family and country. They are all patriotic heroes. They have sacrificed their lives and blood with the Song dynasty. They can never do this kind of thing. It happened. That's right. Chen Ang smiled. The people from the beggar clan couldn't do this, but it happened, and someone has to take responsibility. I see that Xianbei is dead and has a traitor in his head. He must not be a good person. Since he served the emperor of Hoyan was the master, and he must have plans to restore the country and plot rebellion, so it wouldn't be a bad thing to kill him casually. You can see, Chen Ang said with great righteousness, in this way, I can have an account with the court, and the loyalty of the beggar clan can be preserved. Isn't it wonderful? As soon as these words came out, most of the beggar clan disciples showed joy. They didn't have a good impression of Murong Xianbei, and some even suspected that Murong Fu killed Ma Dayuan. In short, now they see someone doing it for them. He was naturally happy to prevent the disaster. However, the elder Chuan Gong and the law enforcement elder, who were deeply influenced by Jiao Feng's loyalty, did not agree. Elder Chuan Gong said this matter is not only a matter for the court, but also a matter for my beggar gang. The beggar clan must capture the real culprit and seek justice for Mr. Cai. At the same time, they must find out who secretly learned the dragon subduing palm of the beggar clan. As soon as these words came out, many disciples of the beggar clan showed disapproval. Elder Chuan Gong frowned and suddenly shouted. We, the beggar clan, are one, two, how can we let others prevent disasters for us? How many grievances did you suffer and how many tests did you go through when gang leader Chiao was here? Have you ever seen him frown? We, the beggar clan, cannot do anything to deceive the world. That man framed us. The Murong family is here to stop the disaster today, but if he repeats his old tricks tomorrow, who will come? The words were spoken with great righteousness and made perfect sense. The disciples of the beggar clan were ashamed. Although they were dissatisfied with the Murong family, they still had their thoughts in mind. However, Elder Su, Quan Guanqing and others did not agree. Yes. Then Quan Guanqing said directly, this master is right, the Murong family's Dozhuan scene shift is so magical that it can make people in the martial arts die under their unique skills. Obviously, they are proficient in hundreds of martial arts. If we talk about frame up, the Murong family is the most suspect. However, Chen Ang just smiled and said, I am just making a suggestion. The Murong family has already violated the laws of the court and is treasonous. I came here half of the time for Murong. As soon as these words came out, there were many people present. The person's expression changed drastically. All the beggar clan disciples instantly looked at Wanjie and the others. As for Wanjie and others, their faces were already pale. Wanjie said in fear, "You're talking nonsense, cousin, he won't do such a thing." Chen Ang sneered, "Don't you know whether he will do it?" Wanjie's face turned pale. He was so pale that he was speechless for a moment. Everyone present was a veteran. Looking at Wanjie's expression, I was convinced. The monk who came out to smooth things over also frowned, clasped his hands together, and silently recited the Buddha's name. For a moment, the Murong family members present were faintly squeezed out. Only Duan Yu, that stupid boy, was still a little anxious. He gathered around Wanjie and asked her for help in front of the big licking dog. At this time, it was obvious that Bao Butong was also a little anxious, and he hurriedly said, "You bitch official, your mouth is so stinky. You are talking nonsense, and with your method of confusing right and wrong, what do you say, Kill Li, you have no evidence at all. You are talking nonsense and have no proof on paper. Whatever you say, the Murong family, will never dare to admit it." Ha ha ha. Chen Ang smiled. "How naive, when our court handles affairs, do we still need to rely on evidence?" As soon as these words came out, everyone present frowned. Everyone felt indignant. Good guy, this gesture and attitude are simply arrogant. However, they have no position and there is no need to speak for the Murong family. Even with such a posture, they just frowned. At this time, countless people in the world saw the scene and laughed again. It made me laugh. In the past, I would see the villain talking to the son of destiny, and there was still some atmosphere at that time. Now it's the other way around. This feeling is really novel. I thought that Chen Ang had played the role of dog officer to the fullest before, but I didn't expect that this was just the beginning. Good guy, the word dog official is almost written on his face. It made me laugh so hard, it was so outrageous. Arrogant, too arrogant, this Chen Ang seems to be saying, "You want an imperial edict? Come on, write him one, this is outrageous." Gee, in the past, when I met this kind of person, I would feel angry. You may be thinking, why are there always such dog officials? Indiscriminate, right and wrong, slander. Now, when I see Chen Ang again, I understand. It's so damn cool. Evidence. Gee, do you have any evidence to prove your innocence? No. That is sinful. Good guy, when it comes to the temperament of a dog official, you have a firm grasp on it. Damn it, is there any more royal method? Is there any law anymore? Ah. He, the imperial court is the king's law, and Chen Laomo is the imperial court now. Chen Laomo still needs evidence when doing things. Innocent. Laughing to death, if I say you are guilty, don't you accept it? If you don't accept it, go to jail. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 229. At this moment, countless people in the world were watching everything that happened in the picture, watching Chen Ang's arrogance, and watching Chen Ang's demeanor of a dog official. Everyone laughed. In the past, if we were in this situation and saw this kind of person, we would have gritted our teeth and wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible. However, seeing Chen Ang doing this now makes countless people just feel funny. Well, this is a question of sense of substitution. Since this Chen Ang is the son of luck, then it is Chen Ang who they replace, not the one who is different. That's why they felt happy and a little funny. And at this moment, they could see in the picture. As Chen Ang finished speaking, everyone's mouths twitched crazily, and for a moment, they didn't know what to say. and Wanjie was so anxious that she almost cried. Duan, the licking dog, quickly stood up. It was difficult for others to stand up and speak for the Murong family, but he didn't care. He is from Dali, why should he care about this? So, he took a step forward and said, "Brother, what you said is wrong. Everything must be based on evidence. If there is no evidence, how can it be convincing?" Others only thought that Duan was a stupid boy. Convincing? Haha, they can already imagine what Chen Ang will say. Well, because Chen Ang represents the government and the court. What the court says is convincing. What? You do not believe? So what if you don't believe it? Do I care if you believe it or not? With Chen Ang's temper and tone, they wouldn't believe it if he didn't give this pretty boy a fight today. Countless people thought to themselves and laughed to themselves. However, a shocking scene happened. As you can see, Chen Ang looked at Duan, smiled slightly, suddenly became friendly, and said, "Since it is the prince's request, then we naturally have to talk about the evidence." Well, everyone present is stupid. What the hell is this? Isn't the contrast between Chen Ang's before and after too great? Where did the doggy style go? Now, when you see that pretty boy, why do you suddenly become friendly? Listen. Chen Ang's words. It seems like, what kind of prince is this boy? Which family is he from? Everyone is still guessing. Don't talk about others, even Duan himself was a little surprised. He looked at Chen Ang in shock and asked, "You know my identity?" He. Chen Ang smiled, still with that kind 017 smile. "Dali is an ally of the Song dynasty, we are as close as brothers, and the younger brother is the Prince of Dali, and a distinguished guest of the ally. In this matter, we must talk about evidence, we must talk about evidence, we cannot let it go. The friendly countries are shocked. Can't the friendly countries be surprised?" At this moment, everyone present had strange expressions on their faces, and everyone looked at Chen Ang speechlessly. What the hell, are you from Sichuan? This face-changing technique is so skillful. It was as if they had rehearsed it countless times. At the same time, the beggar clan disciples were also cursing in their hearts. They thought that Chen Ang was a piece of shit. The imperial court was such a jerk. Internally, you are not afraid of confusing right and wrong and boiling public resentment. A prince of this family just said something casually, and you were so careful about your allies that you were surprised. Are you going to talk about evidence? What the hell, where's the bottom line? Where is the bottom line? Is this the imperial court? At this time, countless people were angry. Chen Ang glanced at Huangshang next to him and saw Huangshang's extremely agreeable look, which made him feel a little ridiculous. But the court's eagle dog still had to be installed, so he gave a slight signal to Huangshang. Then, he saw Huangshang shaking out a pair of bits and pieces from his body. And those things, whether it was Bao Butong or Wanjie, after taking one look at them, their expressions immediately changed. But you see, those are some small flags, some signs. Just then, Chen Ang looked at Bao Butong and said with a smile, "Yunzo Kinjiazai, Taihang 18th village, and Wanjiazai. Take a look, what else is missing?" Bao Butong's expression changed again and again. Wanjie bit her lip tightly. "Use it to help restore the country." Bao Butong opened his mouth and wanted to say something else. However, Chen Ang snorted coldly, "I have all the witnesses and material evidence here, and I won't tolerate your quibbles." At this moment, everyone present frowned when looking at the chess pieces on the ground. The fabric of this small flag is all black satin, which is extremely gorgeous and dark and shiny. This thing is the unique material of the Murong family's workshop in Suzhou, and it is difficult for outsiders to imitate it. I don't know about the witnesses, but there is physical evidence anyway. However, he was still quibbling about the difference in the package. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said firmly, "No, No. Our Murong family is open for business. You can buy this fabric, and so can he. Then carve an inexplicable word yan on it. Wouldn't it be easier than making fabrics? It's impossible to say that someone framed my Murong family. Everyone present listened to this, and they believed it for a long time. Listening to the quibbles about the difference, the grumpy elder Wu of the beggar clan immediately shouted angrily, Xian Bei Huzon, the evidence is conclusive, how can we allow you to quibble? Yes, yes, Xian Bei is dead. Are you still quibbling? Are you allowed to quibble? Sure enough, those who are not of my race must have different minds. Xian Bei is dead and has a bone in the back of its head. I wish I didn't kill you bastards back then. At this moment, the crowd was excited. All beggar clan disciples were deeply infected by Jiao Feng's chivalrous spirit. Not all of them hated evil, but under the leadership of Jiao Feng, most of the beggar clan disciples still had family and country in mind. Therefore, there are such a grand scene. Moreover, these disciples of the beggar clan are all at the lowest level. They use all kinds of curses and swear words, but none of them are the same. How can you insult people? Bao Butong loves to argue most in his life. Of course it's no big deal that he can stand up to the crowd all by himself. His words alone can be compared to everyone present. Of course, he just clings to that point anyway, saying that anyone can buy the fabric, and that it was framed by others. However, Bao Butong is still a person after all. As more and more disciples of the beggar clan join in, Bao Butong gradually feels powerless. Now he can't wait to open his mouth more. Anyway, the scene was once very chaotic. However, also at this moment, Chen Ang's words suddenly rang out, I still have evidence. As soon as these words came out, the scene fell silent for a moment, and everyone looked at Chen Ang in surprise. Is there any evidence? Everyone asked, what kind of evidence is it? Bao Butong also frowned. Just after hearing this, Chen Ang spit out 4 words, one word returned Shi Shui Pavilion. As soon as these words came out, Bao Butong broke into a cold sweat again. Wang Yuyan's face became paler and paler. They knew very well what was going on in Shi Shui Pavilion. Now, after being exposed by Chen Ang, they just felt that everything was gone. It's late. Unexpectedly, Chen Ang suddenly turned his head again, looked at the previous monk, and said calmly, you once said that the Liao people's attempt to steal the scripture pavilion of Shaolin Temple could endanger the foundation of the Song dynasty. So if someone steals the secrets of the entire martial arts world, is that considered an evil plan? The monk recited the Buddha's name and finally sighed, injustice, everything is injustice. What an injustice! Chen Ang snorted coldly, we will discuss your matter later. Let's talk about the Murong family's Shi Shui Pavilion. When Chen Ang said this, he paused deliberately and looked at everyone. But what he saw was that everyone was looking at him, wanting him to explain what the Shi Shui Pavilion was. Immediately, Chen Ang continued, this is Shi Shui Pavilion, which contains 8-level martial arts secrets from all sects in the world. Does this count as evidence? At this moment, countless people present widened their eyes when they heard this. The people present were not just the disciples of the beggar clan. Because of Jiao Feng's incident, some well-known sect disciples in the world also came. And these people, listening to what Chen Ang said, still think that Shi Shui Pavilion has 8-level martial arts secret books from various sects? Isn't this a humming joke? Real or fake? Have your martial arts secrets been leaked? Cack, hum. At this moment, everyone was shocked and confused, and then they subconsciously looked at Wang Yuyan and Bao Butong. But what they saw was that Bao Butong was sweating and Wang Yuyan looked pale. Not angry. It's a kind of panic after being exposed. From this reaction alone, everyone present instantly concluded that what Chen Ang said was 80% true. At this moment, everyone present. It's not a big deal if your martial arts skills are stolen. Sure enough, this remnant of the Murong family is really up to no good. He actually stole other people's martial arts secrets, he should be damned, he is a cancer in the martial arts world. Damn you guys, damn Xianbei bastards, your Xianbei lineage should have been completely defeated and killed back then. Son of a bitch. Xianbei bastard. You have come to our Han land to show your power. If Master Chen hadn't found out earlier, you Xianbei dead remnants would have really made a mess in the world. At this moment, everyone shouted together and looked at Bao Butong and others with cold murderous intent. Bao Butong's face sank, knowing that the situation was over, he subconsciously protected Wanjie, Azu, and Abai and retreated. It's better not to return this. As soon as he retreated, he was naturally noticed by the beggar clan disciples. Filled with righteous indignation, they surrounded them. At this moment, Chen Ang smiled lightly again, attracting everyone's attention, and said again, I'm still here, there is a third piece of evidence. It's endless. Bao Butong's face is dark. Damn it, he can still debate the first evidence. When the second evidence comes out, as long as there is no stone hammer, he can still speak like a lotus flower. But, this third piece of evidence. He didn't dare to think about it any longer. This Chen Ang is simply a devil. This dog official. Bao Butong gritted his teeth, becoming more sinister each time. Is this third piece of evidence enough to come out? Those beggar clan disciples nowadays, they had already surrounded them. If the third piece of evidence came out, wouldn't they be torn into pieces? Before they could react, Chen Ang suddenly turned his head, looked at the monk again, and said, it was a shocking conspiracy that lasted for decades. You discovered the dirty things about the Murong family more than 10 years ago, right? Masters Higuang. Masters Higuang. Masters Higuang is really interesting. His name is not well known in the martial arts world, but some people of the older generation know about Masters Higuang's past. He once traveled across the ocean, he traveled overseas to the wilderness, collected exotic tree bark, and cured countless people in the coastal areas of the miasma virus. However, because he was infected with the miasma virus during the treatment process, all his martial arts skills were lost. It can be said that from this point of view alone, Masters Higuang is worthy of his name as a master. He does have a Buddha's heart to save those in need. But, he was also a witness to the Yanmen Pass incident. What happened at Yanmen Pass? More than 20 or 30 years ago, the Central Plains Wulin received intelligence and said, a group of Khitan warriors used the Song dynasty to enter the Central Plains and rob the Shaolin Temple's martial arts classics. As patriots, those martial arts masters, in order to serve the country, shed their blood and sacrificed their lives, and went to Yanmen Pass. This group of masters, in total, 21 people. All of them were strong men. Finally, after lying in wait for a long time, they saw the Khitan warriors. Then, they immediately became jealous and massacred these people without saying a word. Most of them were killed, and even the female family members were killed. Only one guy was so powerful that he killed 17 people in a rage, leaving only 3 injured and 1 unconscious. However, that person did not kill him because of his language. Unable to understand, he carved words on the cliff with grief and anger in his heart, and because of the death of his wife and children, he jumped off the cliff in despair. However, what he didn't know was that he actually had a son who was still alive. And his son was the later leader of the beggar clan, Qiao Feng. This is the cause of everything. Although those martial arts people were deceived, and the leader was deceived by someone, leading to this tragedy. However, they killed people without any hesitation. So soft. The most important thing is that they thought to themselves that the world's martial arts originated from Shaolin. If Shaolin's martial arts were stolen and promoted among the Liao army, wouldn't the Song dynasty be in danger? So, what happened later? All these Chen Ang is naturally very clear about everything. What he said before also made Masters Higuang understand that he knew everything about what happened back then. He wanted to see whether Masters Higuang was a real master or a fake Grandmaster. Haha, Masters Higuang, who is the accomplice outside Yanmen Pass? Under that wronged soul, can Master still sleep soundly these years? Chen Ang looked at Masters Higuang with a sneer. At this time, Masters Higuang's face turned pale, and then he sighed. I haven't closed my eyes for decades. Whenever I close my eyes, it's that injustice. I only wish to put this broken body to rest and resolve the grievances of the past. Let this broken body resolve the grievances. It's beautiful as you think. Chen Ang still sneered outside Yanmen Pass. Xianbei rebelled and colluded with the martial arts scum to create disputes between the Liao and Song dynasties and wanted to trigger a war between the two countries. Then Murongbo wants to restore the country. Do you really think that I am banned from martial arts hall? As soon as these words came out, countless people present were in an uproar. Immediately, Chen Ang looked at Masters Higuang again and asked coldly, Masters Higuang, let me ask you, was the leading brother back then Suansi? Masters Higuang was silent. Haha, if you don't want to tell me, then I'll tell everyone. Chen Ang sneered, the Liao people are plotting against the Shaolin scripture pavilion. No matter how nice you say it or how charming you make it, it's just Shaolin's private matter after all. If the so-called Shaolin skills are learned by the Liao people, the Song dynasty will be destroyed, threatened with extinction? What a joke. It's really a blessing to oneself. If this is the case, then Shaolin should spread martial arts widely in the Song dynasty, and all the people in the Forbidden Army will practice Shaolin to extinction. Will it be possible to destroy the Liao dynasty and the Xia dynasty? If this is the case, it would be treason for you, Shaolin, not to dedicate your martial arts. Who doesn't know that the more advanced martial arts is, the harder it is to improve? Without you, Shaolin true instructor, how many of the 72 unique skills could others have mastered? You, a Shaolin disciple, have outstanding qualifications and study hard? But how many people have mastered the 72 unique skills? The so-called Sutra Pavilion matter has nothing to do with the Song dynasty. This is a matter for the Shaolin family. Does it have to involve the life and death of the country? Hey, are you worthy of the surname Zhao? Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 230. To be honest, Chen Ang is telling the truth, ha ha ha. I'm laughing so hard, this Shaolin temple, this Buddhism, tisk tisk. Although I didn't dislike Buddhism before, to be honest, this Buddhism is really not a good thing. Hit the nail on the head, hit the nail on the head. I don't know what the original direction of the story is, but based on Chen Ang's analysis, anyway, I think this is how the world is. Buddhism. Hee hee. No way, right? Do you really think that Buddhism is a good thing? Do you really think that Buddhists in the past, Buddhists today, and Buddhists in movies and TV shows are so good? Laugh to death, the former Buddhists, that was a representative of arrogance. Indeed, in times of war, the easiest way to escape the war is to become a monk. But Taoism pays attention to character and fate. Without fate and character, it's useless for you to come. But Buddhism is different. It doesn't reject anyone who comes. Do you want to become a monk? Okay. What, you used to be a villain? Kill countless people? It doesn't matter, put down the butcher knife and become a Buddha immediately. The donor has wisdom. In this way, Buddhism gradually became more and more popular, and what kind of Buddhist monks did they become ordained? Do you really think that after he becomes a monk, he will change his ways and become a good person? Joke. After they became monks, they just changed their skin. They continued to be their landlords and their local emperors. The key is that there are a large number of monks and thugs in the temple, and he himself is exempt from tax. It's okay if he doesn't have to perform military service. What's more, he still has tenants and subjects. A temple is simply a small vassal state. Good guy, is it true? I was so stunned. Is this Buddhism? Is this Buddhism? No, it seems that this is indeed the case. No one mentioned it before, but it seems, after thinking about it, it is indeed like this. Haha, that's not all. Buddhists can actually marry and have children. What the hell? Can I marry a wife and have children? What the hell, are you kidding me? Joke. Haha, I'm not kidding you. Buddhists in the past could marry wives and have children. Even, all Buddhists can marry and have children. No, didn't I remember that Buddhism has a sexual precept? How can I get a wife and have children if I don't even approach women anymore? Laughing to death, what do you think this lust caution means? The meaning of lust and caution is that whatever happens with a woman other than your wife is a violation of lust and caution. As for his wife, what kind of breaking the precept is that? Worry, my outlook on life is completely shattered? Are you a member of the same family? Damn it, don't mess with my Zen mind. Disturbing your Zen mind? Laughing to death, Buddhism has such a shitty Zen mind. Don't talk about this. Growing your hair, drinking alcohol, and eating meat were actually not prohibited by Buddhism in the past. Otherwise, why do you think so many people are willing to join Buddhism? In the past, if you wanted to enter Buddhism, it was very simple. After entering, just recite a few Buddhist sutras and shout Amitabha, then you would be a disciple of Buddhism. As for your conduct? None of my business. Anyway, I promote Buddhism. Even if you are a bad person, it is me who has influenced you onto the right path. Damn it, stop talking, besides, I'm so mentally broken. It's fake, I won't listen, I don't believe it, there is no evidence, I just think you are farting. Haha, evidence. I don't know about other worlds, but in our world, there was an incident where 3 martial arts and 1 sect destroyed the Buddha. The so-called 3 martial arts and 1 sect are actually 4 emperors, and these 4 emperors are not tyrants or cowardly kings, on the contrary, they are all heroes. Not only did the destruction of Buddha not become a stain on them, but it became their political achievement. Why? Because Buddhism in the past was indeed not a good thing. Those monks are so rich. They have a lot of land, a lot of food, and a lot of armed forces. They don't pay taxes or conscript soldiers. No matter what era, how can any emperor endure it? I can get a lot of wealth by destroying you, why not? If you don't believe it, ask the emperor of your world, the human emperor of your world, etc., and see if they want to destroy Buddhism. You all said it was Buddhism in the past. Well, even so, I admit that Buddhism was a bit of a bastard in the past, but didn't it get better later? Now, aren't monks allowed to take wives? Isn't it forbidden to drink alcohol and eat meat? There is also lust and caution. In short, the current monk can be called a good person, right? Good. Ha ha ha, so funny. Let me put it this way, in this world, this dynasty, and this period where Chenang lives, Buddhism is actually still in chaos, and Shaolin is the worst evil in the world, far from being as good as it seems. Even if there is, it is still hypocrisy. Buddhism was afraid of being exterminated, so it restrained itself. He was beaten. Rather than being good himself. Besides, the reason why Buddhism became good later on must be attributed to the emperor of a certain dynasty. I know that this emperor was an emperor after the Song dynasty, the Emperor Hongwu of the Ming dynasty. Lao Tzu couldn't afford to eat back then, so when he was a monk, he saw their host lavishing fish and meat, and having sex with many women, you all know it. He also treats the little novice monk as a slave. Later, when Lao Tzu ascended the throne, he hated Buddhist disciples deeply. We promised to purify the 6 sense organs, but in the end, we married a wife again and drank alcohol and ate meat? Then, he directly issued a decree, and then there were the monks who looked like ascetics. Damn it, awesome. Real or fake? In our world, history is like this, and history books serve as a guide. I didn't believe it at first, but since I learned about history, it has refreshed my three views over and over again. There are 480 temples in the southern dynasties, and how many towers are in the mist and rain? Haha, Buddhism is rampant. This has been happening since ancient times. If you don't suppress it, you won't destroy the Buddha. Do you really think Buddhism is so good? I don't even want to give more examples. I don't want to fight, but I still can't stand it anymore. If you only understand one side, how can you understand the true meaning of the true Buddha? A poor monk is not talented, so he is willing to talk about one of the origins of Buddhism. At that time, Demon King Bosun was defeated by Buddha Sakyamuni. Buddha Sakyamuni was so merciful that he let Demon King Bosun go. Before leaving, Demon King Bosun said to Buddha, "When you reach the end of Dharma, I will call you mine." Disciples sneak into your monk treasure, wear your cassocks, and destroy your Dharma. They misinterpret your scriptures and destroy your precepts in order to achieve the goals that I cannot achieve by force today. Therefore, those sons and descendants of Buddha who do evil are actually the descendants of Demon King Bosun. Phew, ha ha ha, I was laughing so hard. Does anyone really believe this? The writing is decent. If your own monks have problems, then you blame the monks on the demon sons and grandsons. All I can say is, it's worthy of you. Tisk, I don't rule out that there are true Buddhas, true goodness and great wisdom in all the heavens and worlds, but at least 90%, or even 99%, of the monks are not good birds. 666, is this the explanation given by the Buddhist master? I understand. From now on, if any of my disciples makes a mistake, I will also blame them on the devil's son and grandson. If the character is not good, then the character is not good. How can there be so many fallacies? Buddhism is a good hand at misleading people with lies. Tisk, it was promised that all living beings are equal, but as a result, the Buddha himself wore gold and silver, and it turned out that there is still a strict hierarchy within Buddhism, such as Buddha, Bodhisattva, Arhat, Bhikkhu, novice monk. Tisk, this pyramid-shaped hierarchy has been played by Buddhism. If you think about it differently, isn't Buddha the emperor? Aren't those below the major officials? All I can say is, there's nothing wrong with it. The Buddha said that all living beings are equal, yet he still wants everyone to kneel down and worship. The Buddha said to put down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha immediately. And such a good person needs to practice and be reincarnated for 10 lifetimes before he can become a Buddha? Tisk, I laughed so hard. Sometimes, real villains are more likable than hypocrites. I really like to be carefree in the demon sect, but I don't like the twists and turns in the Buddhist sect. Good and evil are all done by Buddha, good is also done by him, and evil is also done by him. Laughing to death. At this moment, along with the discussions in the world, the Great Dao Golden List was even more noisy, and the discussion was endless. And countless people were even more shocked. Good guy, a Buddhist, how the hell did you attract so many people? This is how much resentment is this? How much hatred is this? How many people has Buddhism offended by this? Countless people in all the worlds are making such crazy complaints. Buddhism does not exist in countless worlds. They were shocked. They didn't understand why there was so much resentment in the world. But when they listened carefully to what those people said, they felt chills running down their spines. They had never been in contact with Buddhism, but judging from what people said, they already knew, what kind of good sect is this? It is clearly a devil's cave. Is this Buddhism? Countless people were thinking. But at this time, they saw that the picture turned. but what they saw in the picture was Chen Ang. What happened back then was explained clearly and clearly with a sneer and ridicule. And the big brother who took the lead was a villain who did one thing to his face but another behind his back. And that master's Higuang. Oh, also not a good guy. He said that in order to save people, he went to the ocean to rescue people in distress, but he ended up with a complete loss of his martial arts skills. What is the actual situation? The actual situation is that he feels uneasy in his heart and has to find a way to eliminate it. My own sin. But can it be eliminated? Obviously it cannot be eliminated. Now, it was exposed by Chen Ang to his face that Master's Higuang was hiding the culprit and refused to say the name of the leader, which was very harmful. Then, that Master's Higuang the master stopped talking, just looked bitter, lowered his eyebrows and lowered his eyes, and sat down cross-legged. But anyway, I have to go to Shaolin next. When the time comes, everything will be revealed. Master's Higuang, if it doesn't fall, then Suan-Si can't escape either. Suan-Si. What a master! What about the abbot of Shaolin? It's nothing more than a hypocritical act of benevolence and righteousness, a treacherous traitor. In this regard, Master's Higuang remained silent. As for the people around me, none of them have recovered from Chen Ang's revelations. They are all numb. Unexpectedly, the famous and compassionate Master's Higuang turned out to be like this. At this moment, Chen Ang changed the subject. Let's not mention the matter between Xiaofeng and deputy gang leader Ma for now, but it must have been Murongbo's fault. Chen Ang sneered. Other than him, who else knows Xiaofeng's life experience so well, who else has such a superb skill in moving stars? He is also a Xianbei barbarian. He must be determined to destroy the Song dynasty and is deliberately provoking it. As soon as these words came out, everyone suddenly realized. Murongbo should be killed. Damn Xianbei bastard. Speaking of Xianbei bastard. At this moment, everyone present turned their heads and looked at Bao, who was surrounded by beggar clan disciples. Different people. At this time, everyone was angry. Regardless of how Chen Ang had ridiculed Buddha, despised Buddhism, and ridiculed certain people. Anyway, the truth back then was that Murongbo was definitely causing trouble. Since it's the Xianbei bastards, and these Xianbei bastards present, Bao Buobu's scalp went numb. However, at this moment, tisk, 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 the beggar gang agreed to meet in Huishan, but they didn't break the agreement, so they were hiding here secretly. It turns out they are all a bunch of egg-shrinking cowards. The gloomy voice resounded in everyone's ears. It was only then that the disciples of the beggar clan suddenly remembered that they had an agreement with Zixia Yu Pintang. However, their sub-helm leader had already left. It has been rescheduled. After all, Xiaofeng's things, Chen Ang's things, what happened back then, and Xianbei's things, are too much, and my scalp is numb. How can I still have the mood to care about Zixia or Zixia? Therefore, I didn't take it seriously. But I didn't expect that people like Zixia would actually come to my door. At this time, I saw that Bai Shijing took a step forward and said in a deep voice, "This gang has important matters of its own and has no time to pay attention to you. I'm a clown, my appointment has been changed, what's there to say?" Bai Shijing, the law enforcement elder of the beggar clan. On the surface, he is very upright, but in fact, this guy is also a hypocrite. In fact, Bai Shijing was also involved in framing Xiaofeng. In short, this Bai Shijing is not a good person. However, even if he is not a good person, he is still a Han. So, at this moment, facing the Zixia people, he naturally has no good face. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw that a human head fell from the apricot it was thrown from behind the tree. Everyone took a closer look. This was the deputy helmsman who went to change the schedule. When everyone in the beggar clan saw it, they were angry. One of the helmsmen immediately yelled, "Xiago, how dare you harm my brother's life? When the two countries are at war, they still don't kill the envoys. This is simply too much bullying. Brothers, kill these summer dogs." As the helmsman shouted angrily, all the disciples were even more uproar, and they looked at the apricot tree one by one, even more angry. Ha ha ha. However, the gloomy voice behind the apricot tree was still smiling. "This man has an arrogant look and weak words. He doesn't kneel down and bow down when he sees my general. How can we allow him to live? How dare you, a sneaky villain who hides your head and tail, speak nonsense here?" Elder Su snorted coldly. "Ha ha ha, you said we were sneaky and hiding in the forest? Shouldn't it be that you, the beggar gang, don't know what kind of shameful deeds they are doing here?" At this moment, along with the sound, 8 Xixia warriors came, surrounded by a guy wearing a nondescript red brocade robe. And behind the guy, there was a tall man. As soon as the guy entered the forest, he immediately shouted, "General Zhengdong of the Xixia kingdom," raised his sword, and the leader of the beggar clan came forward to pay his respects. Humiliation, this is simply a direct humiliation. The beggar clan disciples were angry. However, before the beggar clan disciples could say anything, the man suddenly turned his head and saw Cheneng and his party. He sneered, "You are again who?" When he saw Xixia's general Zhengdong, he didn't dismount his horse and kneel down to greet him. "It's simply a matter of life and death." As he said that, he picked up the whip and hit Chen Anke with a snap.